Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the recovery addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
Alrighty, we are back from lunch. I'm not sure if I'm just deaf from all the machinery I've been using, but the music just does not sound right today. I'm not sure what it is. Welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the recovery addict. Thank you for joining me here today. It's good to have all of you here in chat, especially, the number one person in chat that I'm thankful for today is Shells. Shells, congratulations. You are the first person in chat since I reopened the window for the second part of today's trial. And being the first person in chat, you win the internet. Everything that is IP related worldwide is now yours. You're the rightful owner. We will, however, unceremoniously strip it from you and re-gift it next time we go live. So in the meantime, do with it what you will. Just keep it running for the rest of us and we will have no complaints. Shells, congratulations. Thank you very much for winning the internet, for breaking the ice into the chat room, diving in and saying, come on in, the water's fine. Thank you very much, Shells. Appreciate you today. We've got a full house already. And there's that. I have to hit this, reset that, go live there. We're getting there. Okay. Speedy fingers, very fast. Shells was quick, really quick. Shells hacks. Lee's just throwing her right under the bus. Right under the bus. Shells hacks. Jeannie Bailey, Golden Mom, Sharon McDonald, Denise, Horse Sheet and Bananas. You may have been first in chat, but I was the first to hit the like button, so I'm still a wiener. Good job, Horse Sheet. Welcome. All of you are, and even Adam, I guess. I saw it, accidentally refreshed, and then it vanished. I may never win again. Adam, you are so close. I know it's going to be soon. It's going to happen for you. Let's see, a couple comments. We're going to skip the roll call again today because this is just pure action day. We're going to cut straight to the good stuff. I do apologize, and I see all of you here in chat, and I'm so thankful. We will do roll call again. It's not gone. It's not gone. It will be back. But today I'm just trying to focus on the crazy action that's happening in the courtroom, and pickles, of course. And Dre says, just bought a jar. That would be nice. A jar of the spicy maple bourbon pickles. Hubby can try after work. I'm allergic. Dre, definitely put them in the fridge. They need to be chilled. It's night and day difference. So I'd highly recommend them being cold. But I'm glad you like them. Beep. I hear you there. Any name suggestions? Rebecca Bite Me was saying, I'm not sure if this popped up here in chat earlier. Where did that go, Rebecca? I saw it on the burner phone. Let me just see. Let's see. Any other name suggestions? I need to find the original one. I wish you'd stop with the pawpaw nonsense. I'm trying to find it. Okay. Girl Golden Doodle Puppy, 12 weeks old, and she's the color of a red Irish setter. So we want name suggestions for Rebecca's puppy, Golden Doodle Puppy, 12 weeks old, and it's red Irish setter in color. So pop in chat with your suggestions, name suggestions. Just make sure you make some sort of note in there. Don't just throw your name out there, else I think it might be yours. But just say name suggestion or puppy name or something in there so we can see what you recommend. Someone stepped on my pawpaw. Tina P, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships right out of the gate. Thank you very much. Let's see. I'm not even sure if we have 5 non-members in here yet. If we do, now is the right time to go in there and change the setting on the gift the gift setting for the channel and switch that over to accept gifts from this channel. And if you don't know how to do that, you can type !gifts, like GIFTS, and then the link that pulls up, you just go ahead and click that right there, and then you can change the setting, and then boom, next thing you know, you're a member. But thank you very much for Tina. I think those are pending. We'll see if anyone claims them here in just a minute. Lots of members here, which is great. Very few names in gray. Very, very few names. You guys are wonderful that way. Okay, we are getting back to the second portion of the second half of the day, where Alex is still on cross, and he's finally, I think we're done with the financial crimes. I'm sure Creighton's going to wrap around full circle at the end and come back to it and stress that again. But I think we're done with hearing one after another of financial crimes and names and amounts and dates and people and situations. I think that's done. I think we're now starting to focus just on the timeline, just on the murders, just on the evidence, just on his alibi, just on the changes to his story that have happened over time, and we're going to focus on that. I think he's starting to rile Alec a little bit, just a wee bit. We had the little incident with the little pills, and he didn't forget. He forgot where the pills go and things like that. It seems to be against his testimony previously, where he was like, he always was, it was all about the pills. Where's the next pills? And he didn't know where the pills were. And he'd actually have paranoia about not having pills. So the fact that he's like, I don't know where they ended up, maybe in a suitcase, something like that seems a little weird. Carol Martin says, I think you hold the record for ratio of members to viewers. That is your record, Carol. I have done very little to make that happen, but all of you have done a lot to make that happen. And if there is a record, that is wonderful. Morton Anderson was just gifted a membership by Tina P. Congratulations, Morton, and thank you, Tina, for that. Let's see if we can get anyone else off the gray bench and onto the green. Dean Wall, if you want a membership, now's the time to go ahead and change your gift membership settings on the channel to allow to receive gifts on the channel. And suddenly, boom, next thing you know, front row seat for a month with all your friends. And the view is great up there. Let's see. Take it from an ex-addict. An addict knows where every pill is, says Lost Souls Paranormal. Sorry. Puppy name, Sissy or Sissy, both I guess pronounced the same, but two different spellings. Stella, love all those names. Lucy, I'm sure nobody said Buster, right? Or Bustet. Would that be a thing? Puppy name Hannah. I want a new name. I see one non-new name. Sorry. Puppy name Kelly, Rosie, Kadoto. Is that the name? That would be a good one. Lucy, like Lucille Ball. All good names here. We're going to find out who's in trouble. I hope so, Heidi. Right before the break, and I'm actually sort of still keeping an eye on Twitter because I was scanning for this. I wanted to see if anybody in the courtroom could give us an update on what happened right at the very end, where the bailiff, there was like a pause for a little bit, right? Everyone's quiet. And, of course, WLTX had gone to their talking head already, checked another feed, and the bailiff was coming up from the gallery, came up and whispered in the judge's ear for a little while. They whispered back and forth, and the judge sent us to lunch. But the judge did glance out. I'm not sure if he was glancing at the jury box or if it was like just behind the jury box. It didn't seem like he was looking deep into the courtroom. So it seems to me like it's something happening.
Bring the jury.
Yeah, seems to me like it was something happening up near the front, which is generally where the attorneys are. It's where a lot of the photographers are, the court photographers, the sketch artist, when she's not sitting with the jury like she was, in the morning. But let's see. James from court's giving us some updates. Let's see, nothing from him.
Alex stole it.
Alex stole everything. James was saying none of the jurors were crying. In fact, they didn't even look sad. So they may not be buying whatever has been being laid down here. Let's see if he's got some other updates here. Just one moment. If you have a favorite person who is in courtroom, now would be a good time to check their tweets and see if they have an update about what happened. Let's see. Nothing there. I'm not sure if the DUI guy made it into court this morning. I saw his live that he got up at like 5:30 in the morning, got down to the courthouse and found out that people were there since 4:30, and he was number 97 in line, which I think is enough. I think they can hold 97 people, so I think he made it in. but just want to see if Larry got in today. Let's see. Okay. Picture's worth 1,000 words. He shares a picture of Creighton Waters almost with his head on his hands on the podium. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody say anything about what happened in the courtroom. Just the bailiff was whispering to the judge. Let's see. Yesterday he said he took a golf cart back to the house. Oh, that's something else. What happened to the gallery beforehand? It looks like Mrs. R.A. just got home. That's awesome. What's happening with bailiff and judge? We saw that, wondering why. Do tell. Give us all the deal. No, nobody has spilled the beans yet about what happened there. Hello, Mrs. R.A.
Hi, did you dig that?
I dug some of the hole, and Jordan dug some of the hole. Yep, sorry. But yeah, I instead of taking an Alex Murdaugh shower during lunch, which I should have done, as anyone who stands next to me will attest, I went and dug a hole again. Out in the yard, dug a nice deep hole. If anyone knows how to find sewer lines easier than digging a gigantic hole in your yard, please let me know, because mine are missing. I know they're there, but I need to find them. Larry did not get into court. At lunch, he talked to James, who did get into, and James said it was something to do with the jury, but he doesn't want to speculate. Okay, I did think that the judge was looking towards the far end of the jury box. Something about the jury. The bailiff had something to say about that, so that's going to be fascinating to see what happens there. I think the judge. I mean, if a juror member was misbehaving, it'll probably be told to the council. Portland Trailblazers TV says, I have no work today again because of the snow and ice. Bummer, man. Welcome. You get to be here all day. Can't use a metal detector? Yes, Jojo, I can. And matter of fact, I will use a metal detector. Just we've split. I should probably share a picture of it eventually so you know what I'm talking about. But we've cut about a 18-inch wide swath all the way across our driveway. It's about 50 feet long because it's a wide driveway, and we've got all the cement out of the way. And underneath, I was finding like bits of coal. Like from back when this home, which was a really old, a historic home, was heated using coal fireplaces. We've got like 9 fireplaces in the home, so it was heated with those. So it's really cool. I like finding little bits of history like that. So I'll probably metal detect in that open patch, see what I can find. Maybe get a little Indian head penny or something like that out of there. That would be neat. A little silver dime. Amber says, Recovery Addict, wouldn't you be able to use your metal detector? Yes, and I will as soon as I have time. Maybe after the podcast tonight, in the middle of the night, I'll go out there in the dark with a flashlight. Back to the left says, Recovery Addict, is there a holdout in the jury? Does the state/Waters know who it is, or is that confidential? In a small town, I wouldn't want to be the one to throw the case. Target on back. I don't know if anyone knows where the jury stands. The most we've heard is probably from DUI Guy and James from the court talking about the jury. Most of the mainstream media will talk generally about them and say they're crying or things like that. James is saying that's not happening. James is saying that one of the members is, gives everybody a crusty. If you happen to lock eyes with this person, they just glare back at you. Another supposedly has a blanket that they've covered their head with at different times and turned away from the witness. So just some crazy stuff happening. Flush and air tag, 6-foot bus. That would probably work if I was very quick with it. That's a funny thing, a funny suggestion. Okay. T-Rox has internet back. We'll stay as long as I can, but I have to duck out. Well, hopefully we'll get a little bit of action here. Matthew Harris is back in the house. Hope everything's going well with your meetings. Joseph Newton, I watched the Netflix documentary that last night, and dang! Joseph, if you want to be a member, now is the time to change your settings on the channel to allow gift memberships on this channel. It just might happen. You never know. Just use a fork, stick, and widget, says Karen. I've never been able to do that successfully, the whole dowsing thing. I'm not sure if it just doesn't work for me or what, but walking around with a stick in my hand, it's been about that effective. Age of the Lost, ready for the spicy pickle moment. That's going to come tonight, 9 p.m. on our podcast. I will be trying the Oreo spicy pickle combo, which I'm sort of excited for. I mean, I'm always excited when I get to eat more spicy maple bourbon pickles, but I also like Oreos, so hopefully the two add to each other and don't distract. Sharon McDonald says, wow, 9 fireplaces in your home and all coal, loads of history in your home. Love old houses. I do as well, other than the fact that every single room, every floor, every door, every wall, every window, every vent, every light, every switch has something that's broken with it. I'm constantly repairing. It is I won't say it's a money pit, but it is. The roof, the floor, everything in between. We're constantly, we're fighting Mother Nature to keep nature out, and then also fighting to preserve what we have from just fading away into dust. But I do love it. It's a beautiful house. Fell in love with it when I first walked through it, and I'm so glad Mrs. R.A. let me buy it sight unseen. She had never seen it until I had purchased it, and she arrived to move in. There's another story, but let's see. You're not as excited as I am. Why are you more excited about the podcast tonight than I am? We had a great talk last night. I think I'm all ready. I'll do a little more show prep tonight, Thomas, and we'll be good to go. Liz Larson says, my Walmart didn't have the famous pickles. I'm so disappointed. I'm sorry, Liz. You're going to have to move. That's what we've come, the general consensus. If your Walmart does not carry spicy maple bourbon pickles, I need that on sound effect because I cannot say it. For some reason, as much as I like them, the words will not flow out of my mouth consecutively. So I'll need a little soundbite that I just hit, spicy maple bourbon pickle, like that. And see, that time it worked. But yeah, if you don't have those in your Walmart, you need to move. That's pretty much it. You're in a poorer part of the country that does not care about citizens and their happiness. Ivan says, the reason I hit Netflix documentaries is if they ever made one on my 15 years of crime, no one would possibly ever associate with me again. They're always one-sided and agenda-driven, in my opinion. Let's see. You have a nice studio. Thank you very much. I'm not sure who sent that to the burner phone. It looks really good from this angle. There's another angle that comes from right over there, where all you would see is the 40 cables I have that make all this work. And then I've got a bookshelf right here. You can't see, in a bookshelf right there. That's mostly the books my wife uses for homeschooling. I'm not actually in the courtroom, as it looks right here. That's a green screen behind me. I wish I was in the courtroom. Maybe one day we will be. Bill Brasky says, late doctor's appointment. What happened today? Are they done for the day? They're not done. We're just picking up after lunch. And you missed a little bit. We've got all day today. It's been cross Creighton versus Alex, and it is head to head. Alex has been holding his own. I don't think he's really been flustered much, at least tone wise. He sounds very level, but we'll see what happens. It's getting spicier. Christy says, our house is older. I've come to realize they didn't need many electric plugs back then. Christy, my house, apparently when they built it, and they put the the cloth-wrapped wires in the wall that are just separated by space. They're not actually run together and run over insulators, because that's what we have. No grounds anywhere. So it's just a fire trap. When is lunch over? Picky, it's over right now. Actually, 3 minutes ago, it should have been over. Judge is late again. There's the police. You say it like it's one word. Spicy maple bourbon pickles. I love it. It is one word. It all belongs together. You can't take any one part of that out and still have the same thing. You can't just say maple bourbon pickles. You can't just say spicy maple bourbon.
Bring the jury.
You guys are winding me up. I'm watching the audio. It's not happening yet. This is what we've got from the courtroom. Just stillness. Let's see. There I am. Lunch came at a perfect time for Alex Murdaugh. Time to regroup, I think. Yes, but he can't really talk to his lawyers. He's not allowed to talk about his testimony. So maybe they'll give him some general advice. Just, hey, Alex, in general, when you're talking to people, plead the fifth, or something like that. Well. I don't know. I'm glad we have a Walmart and getting more pickles tomorrow. I love that you guys like them. Knob and tube wiring is what it's called. Thank you, Kevin. Yes, I call it a fire trap. But it's amazing to tear into the wall. And first we've got plaster and lathe, no drywall. It's plaster and lathe, and you tear into that, and it's got the mesh as part of that wire mesh that prevents any cell signal from going through the wall or any Wi-Fi signal from going through the wall.
I'm not a camel.
It's a pain in the butt, but those wires scare me every time. Okay. Oh, okay. Had to order them, Bone Digger. Man, that's expensive to order the pickles. Considering you can buy them, some people can buy them at $3.84 per jar, per serving, I guess is what it is. Anytime you have to pay like $12 shipping, that just hurts. That's like 3 jars of pickles. So
I'm not a cat.
I'm not a cat. Was there really John Grisham in the audience? Agnes Sky. There was a John Grisham lookalike who happens to be the mayor of, what is it, Watersboro, the town right down there. He was there, and he happens to look just like John Grisham. So everyone thought this is John Grisham. As a matter of fact, I think Court TV or Law and Crime at one point, they tweeted out, "Hey, John Grisham's here," which was hilarious, thinking that, he's only here for one reason, and that's to get the plot for his next book, which will be called Big Red or something like that. I don't know, but really it was not him. It was another person who just looks a lot like him. Old school Faraday house. That's what we've got. Matthew Harris says, our building has knob and tube wiring in the ceilings. Then again, it was built in 1926. Well, I've got you beat by 11 years. Mine was 1915. Hopefully everyone's enjoying a cup with your own mug. I have some leftover water. I'm glad I didn't just snatch this off the bookshelf quickly. Okay. Not going to put it there. Okay. If Alex, back to the left, says, if Alex planned this murder, I think he would have not had the pills on him in his first interview with the cop. Okay, so tell me this, because I missed a little bit of that. I tried to go back and listen, but I still missed the gist of it. I don't think I got the full thing. What proof do we have that Alex had the pills in his pocket? Did he just say he had the pills in his pocket? Or did he know he was going to be talking to the police and he took the pills out of his pocket in case they searched him? Is there anyone who can authenticate that they were there, or is that we just have to take his word for it? He was lying about the other stuff, but he's telling the truth about this. That's my question. DUI guy said what? Said that about Big Red title. Yes, he did say Big Red. I love DUI guy. Larry is awesome. I was on his live stream last night listening to him at the hotel when James from the court came out, and it was just I just knocked on the door, was like, hey, I'm here. Can I join your chat? And did for a little bit. Pay attention, guys. I'm drugged, says MB. Okay, so if you start saying funny things, we'll just time you out for your own protection, MB. Okay. Let's see. Somebody just said, I wish it was easier to become a member. If it sounds like you may be on a phone, maybe an iPhone or a Android. Those are a little trickier. Did I run out of water? I have 3 5-ounce bottles because they're 15-ounce bottle or they're 20-ounce bottles, and I use 15 ounces per refill. That's why I have one refill left. I have the light blue mug. I'm still drinking out of the red mug. Here we go. This is going to happen. This is time. Hang on, guys. This is it. Let's hear if the judge has anything to say about the incident.
Please be seated.
Mr. Griffin, you wanted to put something on the record?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. During cross-examination of Mr. Murdaugh, he had testified that in relation to the financial crimes that he had tried to meet with the Attorney General's office, and that on multiple occasions, and that he had, from the get-go, had always been willing to sit down with them. He was specifically talking about the financial investigation and the charges which he received as a result of those investigations. Following up to that questioning, that answer, Mr. Waters then went to Mr. Murdaugh's testimony and the information he provided about being down at the kennel, and he said you had never provided that information to law enforcement and other people until today or yesterday. And Your Honor, that is a direct violation of Doyle v. Ohio, where the Supreme Court said that cross-examining the defendant about his failure to have told an exculpatory story after receiving Miranda warnings at the time of his arrest is a due process violation. The court goes on to say the defendant's post-arrest silence cannot be used against him, violates due process. And that's exactly what happened on cross-examination. So I want to make clear the grounds for our objection. Also would like to move to strike the question, strike the answer, and get a curative jury instruction that they are not to consider any failure of the defendant to come forward with exculpatory information after his arrest relating to the murder charges. Thank you.
Mr. Waters.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Clearly, this defendant has given statements on multiple occasions, and that operates as a waiver under Doyle. Additionally, my question was not so limited as Mr. Griffin says, and it was, in fact, the defendant who made a point of saying that he had repeatedly tried to talk and put that in issue, at which point this was directly responsive to what he brought up. Additionally, this was also, all that was discussed were public statements of his counsel, who is an agent on his behalf and attributable to him. So there's no Doyle violation here. If Mr. Murdaugh had claimed his right to silence from the beginning and had kept that throughout, then the state would be precluded from commenting on the exercise of his right to remain silent. But one thing we know about Mr. Murdaugh is he has not remained silent at any point during this process, and he's the one that brought up this false claim that he had been begging to tell the kennel story, when in fact he did not do so till yesterday.
Doyle primarily addresses the issue of post-arrest silence. If an accused is silent following an arrest, then it's improper to comment on the post-arrest silence. It does not allow an accused or a person who's suspected to give contradictory information or to voluntarily give a statement or to voluntarily give a misstatement, as has been acknowledged here. I do not find any Doyle violation, and the record is protected. I certainly understand the defense raising any and all possible issues, and they can be raised, and you've done it here. The record is protected, but all motions are denied. Let's bring the jury.
Bite Me, thank you very much for a super generous super chat with listed all the suggested names for your 12-week-old female golden, I don't remember the full description of your dog. The names were Mags, Mrs. Spicy, Annie, Penelope, or Penny, Ruby, Rebel, Bobby, Ross, Bridget, Hannah, Bourbon, Red Molly, Kadu, Boo, Kahula, Mimika, Golden Nugget, Stay, Stop It, Wolfie, Mozart, Pixie, Megan, and Kim Jong-un. I can think of a couple that you're probably going to eliminate just off the top, but it sounds like you have a wonderful selection to go for. And when you do select, please let us know and definitely send a picture in so we can share the photo of the little puppy. Okay, all motions denied. This is like a running theme throughout this. So many of the defense's motions have been denied. We have not heard yet what happened during lunch. Buster's here, looking attentive. Courtroom looks pretty full, maybe a little more space than this morning.
Very good. You may proceed.
May it please the court, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
It pleases the court, apparently.
Mr. Murdaugh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Give that mic up a little bit, please.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Is that better?
There we go.
When we left off, we were talking about at what point during that interview in the car with Dave Owen that you decided to start lying about the murders of your wife and son. I'm going to pick up this video real quick. Not going to play the whole thing, but I'm going to start from 2 minutes and 9 seconds.
So just start it out, take your time.
Like when I came back here, I mean, I pulled up and I could see him, and, you know, I knew something was bad. I ran out. I knew it was really bad. And my boy over there, I could see it was. And I could see his brain on. And I ran over to Maggie, and actually, I think I tried to turn Paul over first. You know, I tried to turn him over, and I don't know, I figured it out. His cell phone popped out of his pocket. I started to try to do something with it, thinking maybe, but then I put it back down really quickly. Then I went to my wife, and I mean, I could see.
Did you touch Maggie at all?
I did. I touched them both.
Okay.
I tried to take, I tried to do it as limited as possible, but I tried to take their pulse on both of them. And, you know, I called 911 pretty much right away, and she was very good. I talked to her. I told her I was going to get off the phone to call some family members. I did that.
What family members did you call?
I called my brother Randy, and I called my brother John, and I tried to call a little boy, real good friend that's right around the corner from here, but I didn't get him.
What all was around Paul when you walked up?
Blood.
Anything else?
I mean, there was some body things, yes, sir.
I mean, like any other evidence? I know you said the phone fell out of the pocket, but did you see anything else that didn't belong or shouldn't belong or that wasn't part of Paul?
No, sir, not good. No, sir.
He's asking because he thought the firearm might be there based on the type of injury.
What made you come out here tonight?
I went to, my mom's a late stage Alzheimer's patient. My dad's in the hospital. My mom gets anxious when she does. I went to check on them and Maggie. Maggie's a dog lover. And she fools with the dogs. And I knew she'd gone to the kennel. I was at the house.
Just to be clear, you say you hadn't made the conscious decision to start lying about your wife and son's murder right there, correct?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, let's continue on.
Mr. Waters, I can't tell you exactly when that decision occurred.
Okay. You can't describe to the jury the moment you decided to lie about your wife and son's murder.
I can't tell you exactly when that moment occurred.
I left the house and went.
But you did say earlier that when David Owen asked you about your relationships, that was a trigger point, correct?
Well, that was certainly one of the things that contributed or made me paranoid.
Okay.
Now, you know, there were already things that had gone on that occurred, as I said, that put me in that mindset.
Yeah.
But exactly when I decided to lie about that, I can't tell you.
So the things again you talked about, your dope paranoia, The fact they'd taken GSR, and you talked about the advice of your law partners and Sheriff Hill and Greg Alexander, and then you talked about your distrust of SLED somehow from the circumstances and demeanor of this interview right here, correct?
No, my distrust from SLED didn't arise from this interview. My distrust for SLED arose from a couple of things, and it's really several things. It arose from the way they had been involved in, SLED had been involved in the investigation into Paul's criminal charges, and they had been involved in, there was an issue that had gone on with some rumors about Buster and Paul. They had been involved in that, where, you know, Buster nor Paul had anything to do with what I'm talking about, and SLED never said that, even though they told their lawyer that, they never say that. And there had been another incident where SLED had charged Greg Alexander, my friend in this case. They charged him, and in fact, I thought the agent that was involved in that was David Owen, but the charges against Greg Alexander were so, they were so wrong that my dad and I made a conscious decision, even though he was a career prosecutor, made a decision to go to the courthouse and sit with Greg Alexander while his trial went on, because
This was like 10 years ago, right?
it was a while back,
Yeah.
you know. But
You don't know if Dave Owen was at SLED 10 years ago.
no, I checked on that, because that night, the officer who was involved in that case in bringing clearly manufactured charges against Greg Alexander.
So you're saying the night before you sat down for this interview, you were asking somebody about whether or not something about Greg Alexander 10 years ago in the wake of what had occurred?
Oh, no, I didn't ask anybody.
Okay, so that wasn't what you were discussing when you were sitting in this car?
No, I wasn't discussing that. I'm just telling you that I thought David Owen was the same agent that was involved in that case. Now, I learned later, because I checked on it, I learned later that it was a different David, SLED agent, first name David with a different last name. I learned that later. I'm just saying that was all part of that process going on in my mind.
So you're saying that you're sitting here right now thinking that this Dave Owen and this circumstances and demeanor of this interview, you're thinking that guy had been involved in the prosecution or investigation of your friend 10 years ago?
I did.
Okay, so here's a new one you just mentioned to us, correct?
No, that's not a new one.
Okay.
That's part of.
I mean, the circumstances are new. I mean,
No,
that's fairly
no.
specific, don't you think?
Well, no, sir.
I mean, the story keeps evolving. Keep going.
No, you asked me about this, Mr. Owen. What I said is part of this whole, I mean, Mr. Waters, the whole part of this whole process involved
the
my
second time
distrust
he's
for
called him
SLED.
Mr. Owen.
That was part of, a big part of my distrust for SLED.
Yeah, we can all see it on your face in this interview, can't we?
I don't know.
But you said what you just said a little bit ago, that wasn't the lie, that wasn't the conscious decision yet, so let's keep going.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't believe that it was. I don't
Okay.
know exactly when I made the decision to lie about that.
All right.
All right?
Well, if you see it, let me know, okay? I want to go forward.
To my mom's for just a little while. Tried to call her when I left. Texted her, no response. When I got back to the house was obviously nobody was in there, so I figured they're still up here fooling around. Paul was gonna be getting set up to plant. Our sunflower seeds got sprayed and died, and he was refiguring to plant the sunflower seeds. So I came back up here and I drove up and saw and called.
Had Maggie and Paul been arguing over anything?
No.
What was their relationship like?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. How about yours and Maggie's?
Wonderful. I mean, I'm sure we had little things here and there, but we had a wonderful marriage, wonderful relationship.
in yours and Paul's relationship?
As good as it could be.
How old was Paul?
22.
Okay.
So that was the moment, right there, that line of questioning, just asking some very general questions about your relationship. You mentioned that before, didn't you, Mr. Murdaugh? Is that the moment right there? Is that the look on your face when you decide to lie about an important fact in your wife and son's murder?
I don't know, as I said, Mr. Waters, I don't know the exact point that I made that decision.
You specifically earlier mentioned that very exchange as somehow triggering you to lie about the last time you saw them alive.
No, I'm not saying that that's what made me lie. I'm saying this whole set of circumstances caused me to be in a state where I had paranoid thoughts.
Okay.
That normally, Mr. Waters, I could take a deep breath and make go away in a second or 2 seconds or 3 seconds at the most. And on this night, I wasn't able to do that. But all of those things that I mentioned, I believe contributed to that.
Okay. Any more you want to add now, since you keep adding them?
I'd be glad to answer any question you have.
Well, I mean, I'm asking you. I mean, the factors have gone from yesterday to today, and now even after lunch, we got some new ones. So anything else you want to add right now as to factors?
Mr. Waters, I don't believe that I've added any new factors. I believe that's what I said yesterday.
All right.
John Goldbergstein,
Explain
welcome.
some of those factors because of your questions.
Good to have you here, man.
I don't believe I've added any factors.
Okay. All right, let me move this forward just a little bit.
Okay, so most of this was stuff from between a couple of them, but not.
And you had talked about yesterday in great detail about the boat case, which you brought up on the 911 call and to Daniel Green, and then of course in this first interview, correct?
I did mention the boat wreck.
All right, and you described that. Do you remember what you said in this interview about the boat wreck?
Not specifically.
About specifically the other people involved in the boat wreck? You don't remember specifically? Do you remember specifically? I guess you said no.
I remember talking about the boat wreck, and I know that I talked about the boat wreck.
All right. Well, I'm going to play now from 1714.
Any direct threats between any of the people on the boat specifically, but I do think there's been a small amount of yip-yap between a couple of them, but not recently.
Okay.
What was the term you used for that? A small amount of yip-yap?
Yeah, and just to be clear, Mr. Waters, there was never, ever a point in time where I thought that the people that were involved in the boat wreck did this to Paul and Maggie. Okay. I've never thought that.
All right. I never thought that, but it's literally one of the first things that you said out of the 911 call.
Nah, that's not what I said. I never, ever, ever under any point in time believed that those kids that were riding in that boat or their parents or their families, I didn't believe that any of the families, the people that were involved in the boat wreck had anything to do with hurting Maggie and Paul. Okay. But I can tell you that at that time, and as I sit here today, that I believe that boat wreck is the reason why Paul and Maggie were killed.
Okay.
And I'm certain, I believe that.
It was random vigilantes, the 5'2" vigilantes, huh?
Waters also
No,
believes
what I
that.
believe, Mr. Waters, is I believe that when Paul was charged criminally, there were so many leaks, half-truths, half-reports, half-statements, partial information, misrepresentations of Paul that ended up in the media all the time. And when I tell you the social media response that came from that was vile, the things that were said about what they would do to Papa, they were so over the top that nobody would believe anybody would get on social media and do that. But I believe then, and I believe today, that the wrong person saw and read that.
Okay.
Because I can tell you for a fact that the person or people who did what I saw on June the 7th, they hated Paul Murdaugh and they had anger in their heart. And that is the only reason that somebody could be mad at Paul like that and hate him like that.
Gotcha. All right, so we've got now.
But that's why I did then believe it was the boat wreck, and I believe now that the boat wreck.
He says he can tell us for a fact.
All right, so we've got random vigilantes because of the boat wreck.
Now, I don't know that they're random vigilantes.
Well, you just said it wasn't the family or the kid, or the kids or the family of the other kids in the boat, right? So you're saying it's somebody off of social media, and you don't have any evidence of that, do you? You just believe that, and you're just telling that jury that as you try to explain the lie that you told for the first time yesterday. Isn't that right?
No, sir, that's not right.
It's not right. All right, well, let me ask you a question then. So what you're telling this jury is that it's a random vigilante.
That's your
the 12-year-old, the 12-year-old 5'2" people that just happened to know that Paul and Maggie were both at Moselle on June 7th, that knew that they would be at the kennels alone on June the 7th, that knew that you would not be there, but only between the times of 8:49 and 9:02, that they show up without a weapon, assuming that they're going to find weapons and ammunition there, that they commit this crime during that short time window, and then they travel the same exact route that you do around the same time to Alameda. That's what you're trying to tell this jury?
You got a lot of factors in there, Mr. Waters, all of which I do not agree with, but some of which I do.
All right.
Well, happy birthday, Sunshine Sunflowers. Thank you for the generous super chat. You're amazing. Thanks for being here. Several of the statements he's made about the killer
testified
or the killers would also be true if he was the killer.
This happened. Well, let me back up just real quick. When you were driving to and from Alameda, why were you in such a hurry? Why are you rolling 70, 80 miles an hour down that dark, beat up road?
I wasn't in such a hurry.
You weren't?
No, sir.
All right. Show you what's been marked as States 573. See if you recognize this.
I do.
And tell the jury what that is.
It's Mag's car.
All right. And what's it in front of?
The house at Moselle.
And what's between the house and the Mercedes?
The golf cart.
Is that where it was on June the 8th, to your recollection?
No, sir.
Where was it left?
I mean, it was near there, but that's not exactly where it was, no, sir.
Okay, where was it?
Where we would normally park it would be a little bit closer to the sheds. I mean, a little bit closer to the house, to the bushes.
Okay. Your Honor,
when was that photograph taken?
Well, do you recognize when it was taken?
No, I don't recognize. No,
You
sir.
wouldn't dispute that it was around the time in the aftermath of the murders, would you?
Aftermath being when?
I'm asking you.
A day, a week, an hour?
I wasn't there, Mr. Murdaugh. Do you recognize those?
I recognize the car, I recognize the house, and I recognize the golf cart. But that is not, that's not exactly how it would have been
All right.
that night.
Can you describe to me then where it would be different?
Well, it would be more in line with, first things first is when we drove the golf cart, or when I drove it for sure, and I believe when the others drove it, you would come in and you would go across the little brick walkway that's in front of this. So if I would have come in and gone this way, or I would have come in and gone this way. This is not a place that any of my family would have normally parked it. And so what I'm assuming is this obviously is taken at daytime. And what I'm assuming is it was taken when SLED came to the earliest it was taken was when SLED came to the house the next day, which I believe the testimony is in the afternoon. And at this point in time, that golf cart, I would assume, would have been moved several times, but that's
Right.
not how it was.
Well, where did you leave the golf cart when you got out of it around 8:49?
In the manner in which I just talked about.
Okay. Well, help me out again so I understand. You would have come around this way or that way, but where would it end up?
It would have been, in this picture, is facing to the right.
Oh, I got you.
The night that I drove it, I believe I parked it facing to the left.
I understand.
Would be customarily how I did it. And I believe I did it that way that night.
Okay. Well, that's all right.
And that is how I would have gotten into it.
All right. That's a very specific memory. Thank you. All right. At this
Well,
time,
that's
the
just how it
state would
normally
offer States 573 and evidence. No objection.
Admitted without objection.
Could I have the OMO very briefly?
That was Debbie I was on the phone with.
And
You
see,
guys
Mr.
could-
Waters, you can see in the picture now that you bring this up on the screen, if you look to the right, you can see the actual steps. And just to the left of that would be where the little brick patio starts. So where I would normally park it, you would roll across those bricks and the end of the golf cart would be just past those. And we all normally parked it that way because the way you charge this golf cart is if you see that back seat that's sitting, you can see the edge. This is a 3-seat golf cart, and you can see the back seat. And a lot of golf carts have the charger that sits on the floor or something. This golf cart has a charger that's plugged in and a part of the golf cart. So you flip that seat up, and it plugs in. And the outlets are right up there by the door.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about that?
I'm going to answer any questions you have, Mr. Waters.
No. Well, I appreciate all that information in great detail.
Sustained.
I appreciate all that information in great detail. I have objection to the comment. I think
It's just never
there's-
parked that way.
The objection, he cannot stop. He cannot stop
About a
talking.
family.
If there's a pause for another couple seconds, he's going to start talking
Give it
again.
back, please.
Hey, Kathy, I missed it. I'm trying to watch the
Second
chat.
interview. This would have been June the 10th. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I do want to go through a couple of things with you, okay?
I know
Anything you wanna
we've
go
got
through?
people who have very diverse experiences in their life. Mine are obviously different than yours. So I do expect a lot of people to have very different opinions and experiences with these topics. Let's be nice to each other, though. if we can't have a respectful conversation, let's just say, hey, we'll just agree to disagree, and then just drop it. And if there's somebody who just really rubs you the wrong way, you can block them individually. You won't see their comments.
I apologize. Got ahead of myself. I want to do one last thing on the first one.
That way, you just won't see the comments that may irritate you a little bit. It's better that way than trying to argue back and forth in front of people. It's probably not. It's like wrestling a pig, right? When you wrestle a pig, it's not very effective. The only difference is that the pig likes it, because it likes to wrestle in the mud. You get dirty, the pig likes it. I like Waters, says Crystal. They probably should have checked
For
the
the
golf
record,
cart
I'm going to
first.
start.
I forget the guy's name.
I'm going to start it at 23:55. This is the first interview.
May's been having trouble with her. She's been having trouble with her stomach and her tooth. I'm not positive. It was sort of a routine visit, and I can't remember. She told me the name of him, and I can't. I want to say Gordine.
Okay.
Is who I think she saw.
So was she back home around supper time? Or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
I don't think she got back quite that early. I think she got back a little bit later than that.
Okay. What did you do today? Were you at the office or?
No, I was home. I came home. Paul and I messed around. I was up at the house. I laid down, took a nap on the couch, probably, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes. I got up, I called Maggie, didn't get an answer, and I left to go to my mom's. She had said she might ride with me, but she normally doesn't when I go over there. And I think I texted her.
There, when you repeated the lie that you decided?
Was that the moment that I
Was that the
decided
moment you
to lie?
decided to lie to mean old Dave Owen?
I don't know, as I told you, Mr. Waters, the exact moment that I decided to lie, but at that point in time.
But you did lie
obviously-
there, correct?
I did.
And she's very good about answering the phone, so that was odd, or calling me back. So that was odd, but it wasn't that big a deal.
It wasn't me.
All right, I'm going to go to the second interview.
Innocent unless
previously
proven
admitted.
guilty, right?
Let me ask you this before we start. You stated earlier during your direct testimony that after these crimes happened, you were around family, family was around you.
Was that really
your
there?
law partners were around you pretty much every minute after that, correct? Every waking minute. Didn't you say that yesterday?
Yes, they were for a long time.
All right. And this second interview was 3 days later, is that right?
That's correct.
And in no time with any of your close friends and law partners and family, do you confess the truth? Do you?
No, I did not.
Do you say, hey man, I think I messed up. What should I do about this?
No, I didn't.
You're not telling that lie to anyone, are you? Until yesterday.
Excuse me?
You're not telling that lie to anyone until yesterday, are you?
Not telling what lies?
The one you're telling us today, is that what Waters is saying?
Saying I tried to tell somebody that I was lying?
All right.
He tried to trick him there. It didn't work.
So is that. And
All right, I'm going to move this to approximately 24:56.
went to go to the red thing, getting
Correction, I'm at 12:28.
him, he doesn't like to go to doctors, making him go get his blood pressure checked. His feet had swollen up recently.
Wow.
So, you know, that was, it was a big, huge deal.
Okay.
You know, we hung around the house for a little while. I know that Maggie went to the kennels. I don't know exactly where Paul went, but he left the house too.
Okay. How did Maggie get down to the kennels?
I don't know exactly, but on normal occasions she would drive a buggy, drive a four-wheeler, or very common for her to walk.
Okay. How about Paul?
Paul wasn't much of a walker, but he would use all of the others.
Okay.
But I mean, it could be anyway, okay. You know? I don't know exactly. I wish I could help you with that.
So they left and went down to the kennels.
Well, Maggie went to go to the kennels.
Okay. Paul left.
And I'm assuming, you know, Paul left because of, you know, what happened. I mean, I'm assuming Paul went to the kennels.
Okay. And what did you do once Maggie and Paul left?
I stayed in the house. Okay. And I was watching TV, looking at my phone, and I actually fell asleep on the couch.
Okay. And what time did you?
You know, I don't know exactly what time I woke up, but when y'all get my phone, you know, I think one of the first things I did when I got up was call Maggie because I was going to my mom's. And I know I texted her because I checked my phone. And what time did we say the text was, Jim? It's like 9:06.
I didn't see it. Yeah, I got it written down for you.
I showed you the other night, didn't I?
Yes, sir. I got this.
So, you know, I texted her, so I called her just before that. And, I mean, she didn't answer at that point. And I left to go to my mom's.
Okay.
Y'all will just have to look. I'm not sure if I called Paul.
Well, and that's why we're getting the phone so we can nail down the times and everything.
Pretty much all of that was lies, wasn't it?
The part about me not being at the kennel was a lie.
Well, also not knowing that Paul went down there, not being sure, that was a lie too, wasn't it? I mean, you're putting some detail on this thing, aren't you?
Not knowing when Paul left. Everything about me not going to the kennel was a lie.
And you're able to just do that just so easily and so convincingly and so naturally, don't you?
I mean, that's not for me to judge.
That's true.
That's for the jury to judge. Crystal, congratulations. Thank you for becoming a member. Or thank you, not congratulations, but congratulations on your new membership. Please take your seat at the front row. Thank you very much for your support. Kathy, we've got a lot of new people in here today. Not everyone knows the vibe in here. We're a fun group. Towards the end of trials, as more people come in, it gets a little bit rowdy. So just hang in there. Hang in there. This is a good place to be.
I'm going to get to where I'm going.
Feel right now.
So do y'all have any good clues?
So we're trying to put a rush on that to get an answer quick, and hoping that's going to tell us something.
By evidence, I mean, is it things you think are going to be helpful?
Well, I mean, like the shot shells out there, the casings, the DNA swabs that we took from the door handle to see if anybody touched the door handles, any other places that we think somebody may have touched while they were out there. We're trying to collect DNA from that and analyze that. Which at the conclusion of this, what I'm going to also ask is that we get a buccal swab, a DNA swab from you.
No problem.
Your DNA is going to be there, but we need to eliminate it once it's developed.
We don't need that unknown when it actually is a family member.
There's no problem.
We have talked to close to 100 people trying to track people down, and we're still tracking people down. And that's why, who Paul was with.
I want to tell you one thing while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Paul was really an incredibly intuitive little dude.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was like a little detective. And
He was like a little detective, is that what you said?
That is what I said. And he was very intuitive, like I said.
And that was what Marion described as Maggie's term for how he was and keeping tabs on your pill usage. Wasn't that correct?
That was what Maggie said about him.
For some reason, you decided to bring that up in this interview, didn't you?
That was a trait of Paul's personality. I think anybody who knew him would tell you how intuitive he was.
Got it.
Going through hours of videos that we.
All right, for the record, I'm at 4630.
Going uncollected.
well, thank y'all.
Yeah.
Very much.
So.
Mr. Alec.
You don't have to call me Miss. You just call me Alec. Thank you for that courtesy.
When you and Paul got back to the house, Miss Maggie's there, and y'all eat supper, which has been prepared, and you said you laid down and took a little nap, and when you got up, Maggie and Paul was gone, or did they leave when you laid down?
I believe that. I'm not sure.
But they weren't there when you woke up around the 9 o'clock mark or so when you made the call to Maggie to let her know you were going to eat.
No, nobody was in that house when I left.
So, and just trying to narrow down, the last time that you saw Paul and Maggie's when y'all were eating supper?
Yes, sir.
Nothing?
Your answer was yes, sir. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thanks, Nicole. It's natural. Towards the end of a trial, we're starting to reach conclusions, and we're divided. A lot like we think the jury is going to be on this one. So it's understandable. We do try to keep being civil to each other, though. And Nicole, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Dave McKay, given the UFO theory some credence here.
About to go to the August 2021 interview, but between that June 10th interview and the August interview, You were not working very much, is that correct? If at all?
No, I definitely wasn't working very much. I think I was working a little bit, but no, not very much at all.
Did you go to Johnny Parker to borrow $250,000 in order to cover the Ferris fees?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Did you tell him what that was for?
No, I did not tell him what that was for.
Did you go to Russell Lafitte at Palmetto State Bank and get $350,000 in order to help cover some of the Ferris fees that you had taken to send to Chris Wilson?
I did.
And did you get those fees before you signed any paperwork or documentation?
I've heard testimony about that in this case, but I can't tell you the specifics of that.
Okay. You don't recall that?
Do I recall when I signed paperwork? No, sir.
You don't recall that you got the money a month before you had to sign any paperwork?
No, sir, I don't recall that.
Call your phone being in the console, but
I'm not disputing that, but I don't recall it.
Did you go to your best friend Chris Wilson and convince him to cover $192,000, the remaining $192,000
back in finances,
in order for him to send that email to your law firm as if those fees had been there all along?
I spoke to Chris Wilson and did not have the full amount of the fees, and I got Chris Wilson to put the remaining fees in his trust account.
And when you did that, you didn't tell him the truth about your life. You just asked him to cover you, correct?
No, I did not tell him.
And he agreed to do that because of his belief of who you really were, or who he thought you were.
He agreed to do that for whatever reasons. I assume that was a big part of it.
And once that $600,000 was transferred, Chris Wilson sent an email to you saying those fees had been there, were in his trust account, correct?
That is correct.
And then you forwarded that email to Lee Cope and Jeannie Seconder, correct?
I know I forwarded it to Jeannie, and I've heard that testimony about forwarding it to Lee Cope, so I believe that's correct.
Okay.
I think the coroner said 8:30 till 10. The armpit coroner said 8:30 till 10. Then he just settled on 9 for the report.
I get it all from PSB.
Because at that time, there were limitations on how much I could borrow because Mags was passed. And so I was limited.
Okay.
I couldn't get a loan against Moselle and had to get a loan against Palmetto State. Against Edisto.
Going to the third interview. All right, I'm going to go to 1745.
You guys are wanting subtle clues. I would love to cover BK. Would love to cover it.
Apparently having some technical difficulties.
We need Doug. If Doug can just run this instead of Waters, we could get through this a lot faster.
Jury's seen this, so, again, you repeated the same lies over and over again?
I did.
Effortlessly and convincingly?
I don't know about that.
Well, they can see it there.
Agree with that.
Nobody yelled at you.
Nobody yelled at me. Nobody, none of these guys were ever discourteous to me. Like,
Nobody what?
I said, none of those guys were ever discourteous to me. You made a comment earlier that David Owens was mean or something about being mean, and he was never mean to me.
All right. But you decided to lie in part because you distrusted David Owen.
I distrusted SLED in general, and I particularly distrusted who I thought was David Owen at the time,
Okay.
who turned out not to be David Owen.
So wait a minute, I want to be clear. You're saying now you thought that this was some David Owen that had something to do with Greg Alexander 10 years ago.
No, sir. And I'm not saying that now. I've said that all along.
Uh-huh.
The person that I saw and watched in Greg Alexander's trial that was clear to me was just, it was terrible what they did to Greg Alexander. And the person at SLED who was responsible for that was a guy named David. All right, and I'm not even getting into his last name. I thought that David Owens that night was that guy. Later, down the road, and it was a while, I checked into that and I found out that I was mistaken, that it was not David Owen.
So when we went back and we spent a lot of time going through that first statement, you're telling me now that you were sitting there thinking that this was a completely different guy the whole time, and that was on your mind during that entire interview.
Yes, at the time,
right.
I thought that David Owen, no, I didn't think David Owen was a different person. I thought that David Owens was the person that my dad and I had watched. Just, I mean, my dad and I truly thought evidence was manufactured, and I thought it was David Owen, and I was wrong about that.
Okay.
But that's what I thought that night.
Any other factors or details you want to add about your decision?
I want to answer any question you have, Mr. Waters.
I mean, any more?
Do you have any more questions, sir?
No, I mean, any more about your decision to lie. I mean, I just want to, let's get it all out now. Okay.
If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them, sir.
All right, well, I do. Tell me about the replacement blackout. You initially told law enforcement that you weren't sure whether or not there was one, correct?
Oh, no, sir, you're absolutely wrong about that.
What did you say then?
Shortly after this, it became being told that Paul's gun had been stolen. And the one you heard talk about being stolen from the thing. And I'm not sure how I learned this, but I learned that somebody, I believe SLED had gone to John Bedingfield, who made those guns, and could only find paperwork for 2 blackouts, one of which they were saying was stolen in 17. And that's what they were telling me. And I was certain and told them that I was certain that there was a third one.
But initially, in June 8th and June 10th, or June 10th, you were saying that you thought that y'all had replaced it, and then you kind of wavered and then eventually said you did replace it, correct?
I don't believe that's correct. No, sir.
You don't believe that's correct?
No, I don't believe that's correct.
Did you say to law enforcement that you thought that the third gun, the replacement blackout, had gone missing in Christmas of 2020?
It did go missing in Christmas of 2020.
So you're telling them that one also had been missing 6 months prior, correct? Answer my question first, and then you can explain. Did you all tell law enforcement that that gun had been missing since Christmas time?
I told law enforcement that when we looked for it at Christmas time, we could not find it.
Okay.
And that was accurate. We looked for it when we were trying to shoot hogs, when we had a group of people out there, and we could not find it.
Okay. But you now know that it was there as late as turkey season.
No, sir. I know that Will Lovin and Paw Paw had it right before turkey season, like Will Lovin testified to.
Okay. So it was around, actually.
It was around there at some point in time there, yes, sir.
So you're saying it got stolen a second time, or you just don't know?
No, I'm not.
The 12-year-old stole it a second time?
I never said a 12-year-old stole any gun, Mr.
Sorry, the
Waters.
5'2" people stole it a second time?
I don't know that it was stolen. I just know that when we looked for it at Christmas time, we couldn't find it. And I know this, I know that I hadn't seen that gun in a long time. I've heard the testimony that people who were at my house using guns and hunting with us all the time, Rogan, Buster, they didn't, I can't remember about Buster, but there were several people who didn't even know that gun had been replaced. So that tells me that that gun did not stay where our regular guns were. And I know that I didn't see it there, and that tells me that they didn't see it there.
Of course you didn't see it there, because it's got to be missing, correct, Mr. Murdaugh?
Ask that
Yeah,
question
one more
again.
circumstance for your latest story to work is that it's got to be missing as well. It was when you told law enforcement it was missing at Christmas time. Now we've had testimony at this trial, and now you're still claiming that you never saw it. It must have been kept somewhere else. Where else would it have been kept?
It could have been kept anywhere, Mr. Waters, the way Paul did guns, the way guns were handled around there. I was terrible about that.
You're terrible about that.
I should have been stricter.
But you know that that third gun was fired right outside the gunroom door in turkey season of 2021, correct?
I know that now, based on what Will Lovin said.
And you know it was also fired across the street at y'all's shooting house around that same time, don't you?
No, sir, I don't know that, but I know that I would assume that it was fired at the shooting range, but I have I don't have any reason to believe it was done in close proximity to that time.
Dilly, that doesn't bother me because Buster was sort of away at school a lot.
A few months go by, a couple months go by, and you get confronted about your thefts from the law firm, correct?
September of 21.
And unlike June the 7th, when Jeannie confronted you, this time they had unassailable evidence, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, they had,
No wiggling out of this one, correct?
I didn't try to wiggle out of this one.
Well, you've been wiggling before, though, right? You wiggled when you stole your brother's money twice, correct?
Well, I admit almost all of these things, Mr. Waters, but that's one of the things that I take dispute with,
Which one?
that I stole that money that you're referring to.
You're going to dispute that? Let's hear about that then. Tell me why you dispute cashing that check twice.
I don't dispute cashing that check twice.
This is day 22 of
But you're going to tell this jury that you accidentally didn't realize that you were supposed to be receiving some $125,000 check or $120 however $1,000 check 2 times. How many $120,000 checks do you receive?
I got that check, and this is several months after. I mean, you can look at my finances, and you can see how I was doing. I didn't balance a checkbook, but the fact of the matter is, when I got that check, I asked about it, and I was told mistakenly that it was for me, that I had participated in that year-end thing, which I did sometimes, not often, but sometimes. Apparently, a new check got cashed. I cashed that check. Then a year later,
Yeah, where did you keep that one for a year?
I don't know where it was. It was obviously in my desk. But Mr. Waters.
So you found it in your desk?
No, I didn't find it.
Well, you said it was obviously in your desk, so you remember that? You remember finding it in your desk?
No, I remember when we...
Did you go to finance and say, I just found this year-old check, is this right?
No.
No, you took it to the bank, didn't you?
No, sir. I didn't.
Not allowing Mr. Murdaugh to answer the question.
So when this came up, when this came up, that check got cashed. There's no way that I can have a check in our law firm with the way accounting is, and that I can cash a check twice and think that that's impossible. So to cash a check that's already been checked, it's going to throw, there's no question it's going to throw that off. What happened is we used to get a rent check, we get little checks, I'd have checks, and they'd pile up, the small checks. That check got mixed in, and it got sent to the bank, and it got deposited.
Keep going.
And that was a year after.
Okay.
But I do dispute that I stole that money. That money.
All right. Well, I mean, you brought it up, so any of the other money you dispute stealing?
No, sir, you brought it up. I was just telling you that was the one I disputed.
Okay. All right. And you heard Ronnie
disputes
Crosby
the one
and
he
Mark
stole
Dahl testify
twice.
about that, correct?
I heard Ronnie and Mark testify about what they thought about it. Yes, sir.
All right. You testified yesterday about the side of the road?
Yeah, yes, sir.
And then you heard the testimony during the state's direct case about what you said on the 911 call? You heard that, didn't you?
I did hear that.
You heard the 911 call where you said you'd been attacked by an unknown assailant and described him?
I did.
And you saw the video from the ambulance where you said you'd been attacked by an unknown assailant and described him?
I did.
And you heard the testimony from Ryan Kelly where you, again, went in detail and described this attack from an unknown assailant?
I did.
And you heard the testimony about your interview on September 6th with law enforcement, in which you went into great detail and again described this unknown assailant?
I did.
And you heard the testimony, and in fact the image was put in about how you sat down with a SLED sketch artist and spent a period of time with her going forward and creating an image of the supposed assailant.
I did sit down with I was in the hospital, and they came in, sat down with me, asked me a bunch of questions. I answered their questions, and
yes, you did. You sat there.
It came up with a composite. Yes, sir.
Sat there and answered their questions just as effortlessly and convincingly as you've been trying to do for the past 2 days. Isn't that correct?
No, sir. That's not true. In that hospital, I couldn't sit still. I was standing up. I was walking around. I was using the bathroom with the lady sitting right there. I was 2 days into not taking, 3 days into not taking pills like I had been. So, no, it wasn't effortlessly. But, I told them what I told them. I don't dispute that I lied.
It was all lies, though, is the point, correct?
It was.
You're saying withdrawals, but you still were able to pull off lies in great detail. Correct?
I lied to them.
And the lie that you told of an unknown assailant was to try to make people think that the, quote, real bad guys were back again to finish the job. Isn't that true?
No, sir, that's not true.
That's not the effect that...
Closest to me didn't believe that. So, no, sir.
When accountability is at your door, Mr. Murdaugh, bad things happen. Isn't that true?
When accountability is
After
at my
your life-
doorstep,
Go ahead.
bad things happen. What do you mean by bad things?
June 7th happened, September 4th happened.
I don't believe that June the 7th happened because accountability issues were at my doorstep. Now, I do believe in September that I tried to get a man to help me kill myself because issues were at my doorstep.
Every time, or I'm sorry, for the first time in your life of privilege and prominence and wealth, when you were facing accountability, each time suddenly you became a victim and everyone ran to your aid. Isn't that true?
I disagree with that, but I mean, what you're
Shame for you is an extraordinary provocation. Isn't that true, Mr. Murdaugh?
Hang on, let me just finish this. You seem to be implying two dates, June the 7th and September, and talking about accountability issues. And I mean, to me, those two things are totally different. There were no accountability issues on my doorstep on June the 7th.
That's what you say.
And in September,
Not what other people say.
I was trying to, well, no, I mean, been a lot of people, well, in September, that wasn't designed to gain me sympathy. That was designed for me not to be here because I didn't want my son to have to deal with the wake of the things that I had done.
But that's not the story you told. The story that came out of your mouth right away was the story of you getting attacked by some unknown assailant while you were trying to change a tire in run flats.
Well,
that's the story that you told.
That is the story I told, but that's because the man who shot me did not shoot me that day as I intended. And I had to have a story as to how I got shot, so I lied.
So you lied. And you're saying that people in your family and your friends didn't instantly believe that whoever these 12-year-old marauders were back to finish the job.
Should focus on that. I had to have a story.
And it happened just 2 hours after you had been confronted by Chris Wilson.
I think probably some people may have thought that when it first happened, but I think like Randy, Ronnie, Mark, those guys, I think they knew very quickly that this was not, I think they knew this was something that I'd done.
Shame for you, I asked this before, but shame for you is an extraordinary provocation, isn't it, Mr. Murdaugh?
Shame for me is an extraordinary provocation. I don't like to be shamed.
The prospect of humiliating the legacy is an extraordinary provocation to you, isn't it, Mr. Murdaugh?
What do you mean by an extraordinary provocation?
It affects you deeply. It's your biggest concern, is it not?
No, that's not my biggest concern.
You're a middle-aged man like me?
I'm 54 years old. I'm not sure. You look like you're in better shape than me, so I don't know.
I was actually a couple of years behind you in law school, but we never knew each other, did we?
I never knew you, no, sir.
Had a very successful career up until this point? It's a simple question.
And the answer to that is no, Mr. Waters. I was an addict for more than 20 years.
All right, so making millions of dollars over a decade is not having a successful career? Is that what you're going to tell the jury?
No, that's not a successful career when you.
Okay, well, let me put it
No,
like this.
hang on. Let me just.
All right,
you
go
put
ahead.
this- You know, it may have been what you perceive as a successful career, but, you know, I was the one who was fighting that. You don't have a very high self-esteem when you're an addict. So I don't deem myself a success.
All right. Would you agree that at least outwardly you were perceived as successful?
I made a bunch of money, if that's what you're wanting to get at.
No, I'm actually asking about the perception. You were perceived as a prominent,
I tried to be.
powerful lawyer.
How I was perceived,
president
I
of
don't
the
know.
trial
I
lawyers.
sure tried to be.
You lived a life of possessing authority.
Possessing authority?
Yeah, we saw the badges. You just admitted of your prominence in the legal community.
I don't think that I lived a life of possessing authority. I never saw myself as that way.
You don't think you lived a life of privilege?
I think I was very privileged.
And as we move to June of 2021, you were suffering from a drug addiction.
Absolutely.
Your father was terminally ill.
When?
As we move to June of 2021.
No, sir.
He was very ill.
He was very ill.
And you were coming to a point of financial crisis.
I was having financial issues like I'd had many times in the past.
Mr. Murdaugh, are you a family annihilator?
A family annihilator? You mean like, did I shoot my wife and my son?
Yes.
No. I would never hurt Maggie Murdaugh. I would never hurt Paul Murdaugh under any circumstances.
Say that.
He's mad. He's mad. Do you look at that? Oh my goodness.
Excuse me?
You say that, but you lied to Maggie, didn't you?
I did lie to Maggie.
You lied to Paul.
Sometimes.
You lied to your father.
I'm sure I did at some point.
Did you tell him all the stuff you'd been up to over the years before he died?
No, I didn't tell him.
Did you lie to your brothers?
About financial things?
Yes.
I would have lied to Randy at some point, I'm sure.
Did you lie to him about the last time you saw your wife and son alive?
I did.
Did you lie to their wives?
I'm sure I did.
Did you lie to Marion Proctor?
Yes.
Did you lie to Bart Proctor?
Yes.
Did you lie to the Brandstetters?
Yes.
Did you lie to your best friend, Chris Wilson?
Probably.
Did you lie to your other friend, Barrett Bulware, when you took his money?
No, sir.
No.
I didn't lie like I told you. I didn't lie directly to him. I lied to him by omission, like we talked about. I mean, I didn't talk to him. I didn't see him at that time.
Did you lie to your law partners?
I did.
Did you lie to him about the kennels?
Some of them.
Did you lie to Mark Ball?
Yeah, based on what Mark said, I believe I did.
Did you lie to Ronnie Crosby?
According to what he said, I believe I did.
Did you lie to Johnny Parker?
I don't believe I ever discussed that with Johnny.
Did you lie to him about the finances when you borrowed that money in July of 2021?
I don't know if I lied to him about, I don't think Johnny asked me. I don't think I had to lie to Johnny about that, so I don't know.
Did you lie? Well, you certainly didn't disclose to him the truth when you borrowed that $250,000, did you?
I did not tell him what I was going to use it for.
I mean, didn't we say before that not telling the whole truth is the same as telling a lie?
Sure it is.
You don't think that's a lie, though?
I'm just saying, Mr. Waters, I'm not taking issue with that, but I don't even know that Johnny and I mean, Johnny had loaned me money numerous times. It wasn't any long sit-down discussion where Johnny wanted to know exactly what I was doing with it. That conversation would have been, I needed it, Johnny was always willing to help me, and that would have been the conversation. So on that specific event, did I lie to him? I don't know.
Yeah, and he ended up being out $477,000, didn't he?
He ended up being out a lot of money.
And thank you for your qualifications as to that. Did you lie to Lee Cope?
I don't know. I don't know if Lee Cope was around when I said that or not.
Did you lie to Danny Henderson?
I did lie to Danny.
Did you lie to Jeannie Seconder?
About finances, yes, I did.
You didn't ever talk to her about the kennels?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Did you lie to Annette Griswold?
I did.
Did you lie to Christy Gerald, your other secretary or paralegal?
I don't believe she and I discussed. I would have at some point, I'm sure.
Did you lie to Michael Gunn?
I'm sure I did at some point, but I mean, Michael wasn't involved in any of this, so I don't know that any of this ever came up with Michael.
Did you lie to your clients? Did you lie to Pamela Pinckney?
I did.
Natasha Thomas?
I don't know that I dealt with Natasha, but I certainly lied about that.
Hakeem Pinckney?
Again, I don't know that I talked to Hakeem, but I certainly lied about that.
Arthur Badger?
I did.
The Plyler girls?
I'm not sure that I talked specifically to them, but I lied about that.
Dion Martin?
I lied to Dion.
Johnny Bush?
Yes.
Manuel Cristiani?
I didn't have any conversations with him, but I certainly lied about it.
Jamie and Risher?
Yes.
Randy Drawdy?
Yes.
Jordan Jinks?
Yes.
Mary Duncan?
Yes.
Adriana Hay?
Yes.
Angel Gary?
Yes.
Christopher Anderson?
Yes.
Elise Mallory?
Yes.
Thomas Moore?
No.
You never lied to him? You just took his money. You never had to actually lie to his face, is what you're saying?
He and I never had a conversation, but I did take that. I did take that money.
Did you lie to Tony Satterfield just a couple of months before June 7th? We saw the text. You want me to get it out?
Just remind me. There's been a lot. Just remind me what it was.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as 463.
And I don't remember the exact date, so.
That was in April of 2021, is that right? Where you text him and tell him how hard you're working on the case when in fact you had stolen millions of dollars from him? Tony Satterfield, who got up on the stand and told the jury about that?
I texted him on April 12th, so 5 weeks before June 7th.
Told him everything was okay, you're working hard, right? It's a complex case.
Yeah, I told him I was working on the case.
He was the son of your longtime housekeeper, Gloria.
I'm sorry?
He was the son of your longtime housekeeper, Gloria, who had served your family for many years.
That's correct.
And you stole millions from those boys.
I stole those funds.
And he and his family had started asking questions as we moved to June 7th. Didn't that happen?
No, I mean, there wasn't any rise in them asking questions, no, sir. I mean, he periodically checked in and asked me questions, but, you know, it had come out long before this, I believe in the Island packet, that there had been a settlement of $500,000. But, I mean, that had been months and months, if I'm not mistaken. And so I didn't notice any uptick in Tony asking questions, and I don't believe that there was any uptick in Tony asking questions before June the 7th.
So you just gratuitously out of the blue decided to lie to him and send that text? Or were there things going on externally that caused you to need to head him off at the pass before further questions started to be asked about money you couldn't pay back at that point in time?
Nah, I don't think there was anything. I mean, on April 21st, I don't know what external factors you're talking about.
Do you want to explain that one anymore?
Explain what?
Whatever you want.
I just want to answer your questions, Mr. Waters.
Lied to everyone about the side of the road, the people that came to stop to help, and the ambulance folks, and the 911, and Ryan Kelly, and the composite sketch artist, and all of them, correct?
I lied to a lot of people about that.
You know why people lie, Mr. Murdaugh? Because they know they've done something wrong.
For the most time, I do.
And you've been able to lie quickly and easily and convincingly if you think it'll save your skin for well over a decade. Isn't that true?
I have lied well over a decade.
And you want this jury to believe a story manufactured to fit the evidence that you brought forth just yesterday after hearing this trial's worth of testimony.
No, sir, that's not correct.
Mr. Murdaugh, we went through this for a while, but you remember at the beginning of your testimony, I asked you whether or not you agreed that trying to explain your presence on the kennel video was the most important part of your testimony before this jury. You remember that? And you said, oh, not the most important. I said, was it at least important? You recall that from yesterday?
Yeah, I recall you asking those questions, yes, sir.
And you agree it's important, don't you?
I agree that is an important component, but I think there's a lot of important components.
And you? Testified yesterday and during cross yesterday and cross today. It's kind of evolved on the fact of the factors that led you to decide to lie at some point during that interview with David Owen, correct?
I disagree with that. No, I don't think those factors have evolved. I mean, you've asked some more specific questions, but those factors are still the same factors. You may have asked questions and gained a little more detail, but those factors haven't changed.
But it was the dope paranoia. It was the fact that the deputy took your GSR. It was the fact that your law partners and Greg Alexander and the sheriff were telling you you needed to have a lawyer before you talked to police. It was the factor that you got in the car with Dave Owen and thought he was somebody else from some case 10 years ago, correct?
That believing David Owens was the person involved in the case that I talked about was one of the factors that caused me to distrust SLED.
All right, and then also you said that they started
general.
asking you about, in that first interview, about your relationship with Maggie and Paula, and that's one thing you mentioned as well, correct?
And that was certainly something that contributed to me having paranoid thinking.
They're building a box for it there on the desk. I'm not sure why. Daryl Burks moved to be in the house. Doug is in action. Doug's in action.
Are we good?
Okay, we're covering up the screens. Okay. This is the first time he's going to see these pictures. He has not seen these pictures in the trial. They've covered the screen for him every time. Now he's going to ask them questions.
For the record, I'm playing the Daniel Green body cam video, 2026.
They are dead, aren't they?
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
Where are you now? All right. Yeah, the police are here now. The police are here now. That's my brother.
Okay.
Listen to
When
us.
was the last time you were here with them? Or talked to them or anything like that?
It was earlier tonight. I don't know the exact time, but
Okay.
I left. I was probably gone an hour and a half from my mom's, and I saw them about 45 minutes before that.
He's turned away from the screen.
That was Sergeant Green, correct?
Yeah, that was Sergeant Green.
And at that point in time, SLED was not there. No one had gotten GSR from you. Your law partners or Sheriff Hill were not there.
That's correct.
No one had asked you about your relationships. David Owen was not there.
That's correct.
But you still told the same lie. And all those reasons that you just gave this jury about the most important part of your testimony was a lie too. Isn't that true, Mr. Murdaugh?
I disagree with that.
Nothing further.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break now. Please do not discuss the case.
Nicole, do you want to call in? You want to call in? We can make it happen if you'd like, depending on your availability, of course. I'm not sure if now is a good time.
90 minutes to his parents' house, and
there we go. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. I don't know if under direct, if they want to rehabilitate him in any area, as far as get some testimony straightened out. Let's see, Matthew, Mrs. R.A., Nicole, you're all welcome to call in at any time. I don't know where Mrs. R.A. is. She's out and about. I think she's back from her field trip. Why didn't he have a better ending, says Jojo. He didn't have a good lead up to a good ending, is why. Let's see. Matt Waters missed the mark with every shot. It was very anticlimactic. I was expecting something big. Nicole, now would be great if you want to, because we've got a break. I'm not sure if that works with your schedule, though. It'd be fun to get Nicole and Matthew at the same time. That would be awesome. It would really challenge my abilities to get things up on the screen right. But okay, I don't know if the defense is going to go and try to ask him any more questions. Because if they say nothing further, then there's no recross, right? Fox says Waters is a bulldog. Do you think Waters is disappointed in the job he did? Are you guys disappointed in the job Waters did? That's what you guys were wanting in a poll, I believe. Let's see if I can get that poll put together. Start a poll. Audio Zoom, yes. Let's see. I think Zoom is open. Do you need the link still? Just 1 second here. I don't know if I've shared the link with you yet. Hang on. So are you on the burner? Let's see. Shoot me something on the burner here really quickly, Nicole. I've got you somewhere. I just don't know where you are. There's so many texts on the burner phone right now. I think I've got it right here. Here we go. Move this over here. Wait for it. Wait for it. This one down. Sorry, it's trying to get this lined up here. That didn't work very well at all. That was all supposed to be one thing except for copy link. I'm not sure if it'll work. Sorry, I should have thought this through a little sooner. Okay, did we get the poll up? Did I get that entered? Did Waters? We're going to have 4 answers here. Yes, guilty. Yes, not guilty. No guilty. And no, not guilty. Okay. I think I got that all typed right. So the poll's up as far as the DA on his cross. And of course, I missed a B. You know what the problem is. When the B doesn't show up, it's because I spilled water on my computer. And the B key does not work the way it should. Hold tight. Just one second. Oh, I'm trying to get the sounds up as well. Sorry, you should be able to hear those. Vote now, vote now. You just got a couple minutes here. We've got a tiny bit of a break before we come back. I don't think you closed the poll. I think Mrs. RA just voted for me. I'm trying to send you the Zoom link right now, Nicole. Just one second. I'll give you the room number. How about that? Because the link is not working right. Passcode. Hang on 1 second. This is very important so we don't have 1 million people here in Zoom. Okay, there we go. All right, Zoom is open. If you're able to connect, we'll try to bring you on, either audio or video, whatever's best for you. However you connect, we'll make it work. Audio on there. All right, so it looks like the votes are split.
I hear you. Hang on, let me
Hey, Nicole.
Let me turn off my. There we go.
All right, Nicole.
Sorry, I had my cell phone on. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you great. Thanks. Tell me your take.
Great.
Cross is done. I don't think there's going to be a recross. I think they want Alex off the stand, and they're going to move on. But what was your take?
It depends on Well, it depends on what comes up during redirect. But I think that, one thing that the defense needs to point out is that the SLED team lied, pardon me, just as bad, if not worse. Mm-hmm. They lied about evidence in a murder, a double murder trial. I still have a huge problem with that. And, for everybody giving them the benefit of the doubt when they lied to the grand jury and committed perjury, lying doesn't mean murder. And he's been pretty straightforward about admitting what he did. As far as the changing of, his stories, I know that's a big issue. Obviously, he did have a Fifth Amendment right not to bring it up until he was on the stand. Mm-hmm. But that part's bothering me in a way, but not as much as it's not convincing me that he committed the murders. And the reason is, when you're an addict, and especially when you have trauma, everything is skewed. If as I shared with you, I was attacked at work, and I couldn't tell you if it was a 10-minute window. I couldn't tell you what time. You do the best you can. Mm-hmm. You can learn things later, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Your brain just, operates differently under those circumstances. So between, the drugs and the trauma of seeing his wife and son, especially his son. I mean, even the fact that he was asking if his son was dead. I mean, he knew his son was dead, but it's still that, he's not believing it's really happening kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
So some of that, I think that the prosecution yesterday, he got smacked around pretty bad, but he was more effective when he was quiet and calm. The nastier and snarkier he got, the worse it made him look.
Yeah. What do you think about?
And it made him look desperate.
What do you think about Creighton's his finishing move here? Basically listing everyone he's ever lied to in his life, and then saying, "Now are you lying to the jury?" Was that effective, or was that just like too much?
You know what? I don't think it was as effective. The guy's admitted over and over again he lied to all those people. So, yeah, he lied. He's not lying about it. He is saying, yes, I lied to those people. Yes, I did horrible things. I thought one of the most poignant things he said was that he was not successful. I thought that was really a powerful statement that Waters was saying, you were really successful. And he said, no, I wasn't. I thought that was really a profound thing to say as someone who outwardly maybe looked like he had it all, but knew he was a failure.
Yeah.
So, I just saying all you lied to all these people. I'm hoping on redirect that we will hear more about this case where SLED manufactured evidence and find out the extent to which they did it. And I'm hoping the defense will recall Owens and give him a little bit of a grilling to find out whether he's done it before and whether the state's attorney knew about it.
Bring the jury.
And if they knew about it, then they suborned perjury, right?
Yeah.
What was that one?
Yeah. So Matthew Harris is in chat. He says, I think defense would be foolish to redirect here. They let the states take a swing, and redirecting would give the state a second swing. I can see that argument, and that's where I stand right now. But also at the same time, Creighton gave it his best shot right here. He's not holding back his 4 aces, for in case he gets another shot, right? He played all the cards he has in his hand.
All rise. Court now in session.
Oh, we'll talk later. Yeah,
I think it's coming back in session here. I'm not sure if
definitely have to talk later.
I'm not sure where that audio came from. I think I hit something else. But I think
if they do come back, we definitely have to talk later.
Alex stole it.
Yeah, everyone's playing sound effects. I got to turn them down here. Go ahead.
You have to watch a movie that's called Population Zero.
Okay.
It's about the zone of land in Idaho where you can get away with murder under the Constitution. 100%. You walk. You can go in and admit it, and you'll walk.
Only in Idaho.
It's only in Idaho.
Is it
you
anywhere?
Have to watch it.
Is it anywhere near where BK currently is residing?
No. And if anyone invites you to Yellowstone, just make sure it's not the Idaho entrance.
Is it over the Island Park area? Steer clear of that.
It's in Yellowstone, and it's called the Zone of Death.
Wow.
It's a real thing. And it's a loophole in the Constitution.
It sounds like one of those crazy stories that's just wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Your jaw hit the floor. So it's free on Tubi. I'm not plugging Tubi, but I'm just saying.
No, it's cool.
No, I think the state did what he could. He tried to rattle him. I don't think he did. I think at the end, the mistake that he made in playing that clip was he showed his emotion again. Mm-hmm. And the longer he's on the stand, the more emotional he is, the more he's going to connect with at least one of those jurors.
Yeah.
At least one.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how you feel about juror analysis, about behavior analysis, especially if it's coming from some amateurs, basically someone like James in the court. He tweeted out that one of the jurors had tissue rolled up and stuffed in their ears during trial today. What would you make of that if that turns out to be true?
Well, it depends on at what point they were doing it. If they're doing that when the state's presenting evidence, that it's telling. It depends on when it's happening. Yeah. Or it could just be that a juror has a migraine. I mean, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jurors over the years. And there are certain things that they like, and there are certain things that they dislike. There is a fine line between an aggressive cross-examination of a witness and a stupid behavior. And Waters got stupid today, using the 12-year-old. That's not scoring you points with the jury.
No.
It's just not. It's irritating. Jurors are not dumb by any means, and they don't like to be made to feel dumb. And so when you bring things up like that and make snarky comments, he's trying to get a rise out of Alec, but he knew he wasn't. So to keep doing it, it's just a bad move.
Looking back on Alex on cross, I can see some mood changes. There were times when he seemed a lot more intense about his denial and things like that, where you could see he was getting frustrated. There was like the death stare. That was like as riled as he got. Okay, and I want to go back and watch that again.
Yeah, he was really mad.
He was seething inside a little bit, but he was able to control himself remarkably, considering just being hammered with all these, basically, we're going to beat you with every sin you've ever committed type thing, and ask you all these questions, make you look awful in front of your family and friends and the nation. And he stayed remarkably in control.
Yeah, the one thing that I was impressed with was his ability to, he had this one, like, he admitted everything he did wrong and was very, emotionally the same throughout that whole part. But as soon as he was accused of killing his wife and son, he was so upset with the notion that he would be accused of that. And, you can fake emotion, but there are some emotions you can't fake. And he was genuinely upset that he was asked if he had killed his wife and kid. I mean, just as a trial observer, watching all the trials you've seen over the course of your adult life, unless you're one of my kids who gets to go to court all the time, there are certain things you can't fake.
Yeah.
There's certain emotions you can't fake. You can cry, and, a lot of us have seen people cry and it's just not genuine. But to me, his outrage and his demeanor with respect just to the murders is genuine. I don't see that as being fake. Now, I'm not saying, I know what happened. But I do know the coroner said they died between 9 and 10. The earliest was 9. So this notion that they died before 9 isn't plausible, just by the state's own expert.
Okay.
So now you have to get to 9. Oh, we're back.
Hang on
one second. Yes, we'll talk later.
We'll talk later. Thank you, Nicole. I was going to have you put on the prosecutor's hat and ask you what they should have asked. They didn't, but we'll talk later. Thanks so much for connecting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
You've got the Zoom. It's going to be the same connection. So we'll let you go. Enjoy.
Okay.
Thanks, Nicole.
I'll chat with you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate Nicole being available for that. We'll have to get Matthew on and maybe have the two of them together. They're both very good lawyers, obviously, and it's fun because they have different perspectives and they have different experience. There we go. That was Nicole Goodman. Thank you very much, Nicole. Can we talk about scheduling is what he said. Here comes the jury. We'll talk about it later. Can barely hear him. Doug's talking to the state. That's Doug, by the way, who's walking around in the blue suit, I believe. Seeing they can uncover their monitors. The pizza boxes go back underneath the desk. I'm surprised that Creighton didn't ask Alec to watch the video.
All right, thank you.
Let's see if there's any redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And there is. So the Creighton will get another shot at this, another bite. Let's see what they hit here.
Mr. Murdaugh, we spent a long time yesterday and a fair amount of time today talking about financial misdeeds.
Yes, sir.
Have you been criminally charged for those financial crimes?
I have been.
And you have pending charges against?
I do.
Okay. You were asked specifically about $792,000 in Ferris fees that you diverted from the law firm. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And I think you were asked about an accounting or where that money went, and it went out pretty quickly, roughly?
Yes, sir.
And you recall testimony that over $500,000 went to Curtis Eddie Smith?
I do.
And what would that have been for?
That would have all been for pills?
That's a
For
pallet of pills.
opioids?
That is
Yes,
a
sir.
ton.
Specifically, all
It's
I
like a
was taking
barrel.
at that time was oxycodone and OxyContin.
And you were an addict, were you not?
I am an addict.
You are an addict. And did you repeatedly lie to those you love to cover up your addiction?
I did.
And were you
It's a pharmacy
concerned that you would be exposed if you didn't continue to lie about your conduct?
I did.
There's some specific things you were asked about, which I'd like to go over. One thing you had referred to a text message that you'd seen later on between Maggie and Blanca. Do you recall that?
I do.
And it's in the evidence as Defendant's Exhibit 54. And Doug, if you could pull that up, please, sir. And if you could highlight the Blanca text. Is this the text message you're referring to?
It is.
And
it's in
and
vertical
I'll just read
format.
it. It says, "T.Y." Is that thank you? It says, "T.Y. I'm waiting at Dr. Alex wants me to come home. I had to leave door open at Edisto, but trust Mexicans to shut and lock for me. His dad is back in the hospital. The last doctor claims not cancer, it pneumonia." And then she has some faces. "Alex is about to die. Hope he doesn't go down there to sleep. Alex needs to take care of himself as well." Is that the text message you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
And did Blanca share this message with you after Maggie was murdered?
Blanca ultimately she shared that with me. She first told me that, Maggie was worried about me, how much she loved me, and that she was worried about me, and had texted her.
Okay. Now, you were asked, you can take it down, Doug. You were asked questions about conversations around the dinner table on the 7th about, well, we didn't eat at the table, but around while you were eating dinner about Paul's health. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Alec, I'm going to show you two exhibits, Defendants 179 and 180, and ask if you can identify these two.
I can.
And what are they?
It's text from let's see, it's a text from Paw to me on May the 30th.
And then, and what's 180? Exhibit 180 behind it.
That's a picture of Paw's feet.
Your Honor, would move Defendants Exhibits 179, 180 into evidence at this time without objection, I believe.
Without objection, Your Honor.
Submitted.
Pull up. Do you have 179? Or we've got to put it on. Let me put it on the Elmo, please. Okay. Alec, do this text message refer to Paul's feet swelling?
They do.
So if you'll do, you can pull it up. All right, go up a little more so we can read it. And it says, from from Paul, and that phone number, is that your phone number?
That is, it's my phone number, 1227. My feet swole up. It has something to do with my blood pressure. Get me an appointment as soon as it's convenient.
And what's the date of this?
May the 30th.
2021, right?
Yes, sir.
And if, Doug, if you'll show the picture, I believe this is a blow-up of the picture that's in this Exhibit 180. Can you pull out? Is that a picture of that Paul had sent you of his feet swelling up?
It is.
Is this what y'all discussed, when you're eating dinner?
Yes.
Okay.
Along with many other times.
You'd also
Homeschool Ground Zero. Let's give it to the membership by Suzanne. Thank you. Mrs. R.A. is finally admitted to being an addict, apparently.
Your dad's condition and whether he was terminal
Thank you, Suzanne.
or not. Do you remember that?
Appreciate the
I do remember questions about him.
Okay, and gosh, Doug, I think it's the extended timeline. Is it states 5:30? Is that the right number?
States 5:20, Counsel.
States 5:20. If you'll pull it up, please. It's already in the evidence. And if you'll go to page 14, and if you'll blow up the entry at 142.54 at the bottom of the page.
John, that's awesome.
Is this a text?
Congratulations to you.
That you and we'll. Do you recall this is the text that you and other family members received about your father's condition?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it says, Daddy was just seen by the pulmonologist in Savannah. His opinion is dramatically different from the other doctors. He thinks Daddy has pneumonia and needs to be hospitalized to be treated for pneumonia. He thinks there could be an obstruction, but is more confident that it is all or mostly pneumonia. Daddy is being admitted to Candler St. Joseph Hospital now. He will have a study done to see whether or not there is an obstruction, and his treatment will be tailored accordingly. Right now, his pulmonologist does not. Go to the next page. Does not believe that he'll be getting radiation treatment, and in fact, the pulmonologist says that the palliative radiation treatment to try to open the airway is a Hail Mary, in his opinion, would most likely not work. Then it goes on to say, if he is right, and this is pneumonia, is much more treatable and can certainly give the immunotherapy a chance to work. Is that what you're referring to?
That's the text I was talking about that came when talking to Jeannie Seckinger.
Okay. And and this wasn't a terminal diagnosis on the 7th, was it?
Not on the 7th. That was actually a little bit of positive news.
Okay.
It was short-lived, but it was positive at the time.
I think it's probably some pretty expensive software they're using there.
You can take that down now, Doug.
It's probably called Elmo. That's my guess.
But stay on that exhibit.
Maybe Doug wrote the program himself.
Alec, you were asking, if you'll go to page 46, please, the same exhibit, 520. Page 46. And if you'll highlight and blow out the 90218, Alex Murdaugh's iPhone shows. Now, Alec, do you remember being asked about these steps, 283 steps traveled during this period of time?
I do.
And I think you testified your belief was you're just getting ready to leave to go to your mom's house. Is that right?
That's correct. I mean, that would have been the time I was right before I left to go there.
And you were...
Thank you, Samantha. Appreciate the generous support. You were amazing.
You had made some phone calls during this period of time, correct?
Yes, the record show.
Alec, did you have Maggie's phone with you at any time between 9:02 and 9:06?
I didn't have Maggie's phone with me any time that night.
And Doug, if you'll go to page 45, please. If you go to the entry at 8:53:15 to 8:55:32. What am I missing? Can you
He's not going to crowd me out of my space, is he?
Go up one more entry, please. The one that records steps, please.
Come on, Doug.
And then take it all the way to the bottom, Doug.
Oh, man, he's going to crowd me out. Oh, there he went. Took my spot.
This is in evidence. And this is Agent Rudowski's timeline, and it says Maggie Murdaugh's phone, iPhone shows 59 steps traveled between 8:53:15 and 8:55:32. Were you walking with Maggie Murdaugh's phone during that period of time?
I wasn't walking with Maggie's phone any time that night.
And if you'll look at Agent Rudowski's entries, is there entry of her phone showing steps during any time between 9:02 and 9:06? Do you see any on this page from 8:53 to 8:55?
No, sir.
If you'll turn the next page, page 46. Going down to your steps, is there any recording of phone steps, phone recording steps, according to the data we now have for Maggie's phone at any point in time up to 9:02?
No, sir.
And had you repeatedly asked SLED to get the data from the OnStar, from the cell phones, to evaluate whether your phone and Maggie's phone were ever moving at the same time? You made that multiple requests.
I repeatedly asked David Owens about that information.
And when you asked that question, were you aware that Maggie's phone had been located, down the road, half a mile or more? Is that right?
Yeah, I knew where her phone had been located.
And why was it important to you to get that information?
Because I knew that whoever had done this to them had Maggie's phone. And I knew that my phone and Maggie's phone and my car were never together. At any point in time.
Sure. Now, you have given inaccurate times in many statements to law enforcement in this case, have you not?
I did.
And we reviewed some of those in your direct examination. One was Paul getting to Moselle around 5 p.m. Do you remember that?
I do.
Were you lying to Agent Owens or anybody when you said Paul got there at 5 p.m.?
No, I wasn't lying to him. I thought that at the time.
And when you...
most of the times or a lot of the times when I gave times, I qualified them and say, but, you can look at this. I pointed them to my office, to the call log, to the key card like we talked about, or my phone, or my OnStar.
And when you told the agents that you thought you got to the office 8:30, 9 o'clock on that morning of June 7th, well, you were wrong, right?
I was wrong.
Were you lying?
No, I wasn't lying.
Okay. And when Deputy Green drove up and you had the first encounter with him, I believe you told him that you had been gone to your mom's house for an hour and a half. Is that right? We just heard it.
The last one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hour and a half. I think that is what I told him.
Hour and a half. And that
deep breath, everybody.
The last time
We're all
you
friends
saw
here.
Maggie and Paul was 45 minutes before that.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And when you spoke to Deputy Green, it was about, I think the records show they didn't arrive on the scene until 10:22 or something like that. Is that right?
That sounds right. I mean, I think that's what the records show. That sounds right.
And that were you lying to Deputy Green when you told him what time, how long you thought you'd been at your mother's and the last time you saw Maggie and Paul?
No, sir. I wasn't lying to him.
Were you trying to mislead him in any way?
No, sir. Not when Mr. Green got there.
Now, you've admitted in the first few questions that I asked you yesterday and multiple times today that you lied to Agent Owen and Deputy Rutland and Agent Owen and Agent Croft and on a couple occasions about your whereabouts following dinner, correct?
I did lie to them, as we discussed repeatedly.
And you've explained that it was this addiction, opioid-induced paranoia you just couldn't shake. Is that right?
That's right. You know, like I said, there's certain things, anything, that make you paranoid, but I could get over it really quickly. But that night, I didn't.
And you had a bag of pills in your pocket, did you not?
I did.
And when you got down to the kennels, we're not going to repeat all that, but I mean, did you ever see anybody down there, anybody else?
No, there was nobody. There wasn't anybody down there when I was there.
And did you believe that the information, whether you were there or not there, would advance their investigation in any way?
No, I didn't. I didn't think that.
And why didn't you think that?
Because they were fine and doing good when I left there.
Did on the 911 call, do you remember that the call first went to Hampton?
I don't remember that, but I know that now.
And what we played here in the court in your testimony was the Colleton County handoff. Do you recall that?
I do recall that. Okay. I think at some point the part in Hampton might have gotten played too, didn't it? But I know the main part was the Colleton part, but it was like a minute into the call.
But initially it went to Hampton, then subsequently it was transferred to Colleton.
That's right.
And then a minute or so into the Colleton call, you said, "I've been up to it now." Do you remember that?
I do remember saying that. I remember hearing it. I don't remember saying that, but I remember hearing it.
Okay.
And that is accurate. And by up to it, at that point, I had gone all the way up to them at that point. When I first got out, I was close, but I wasn't right at them, I don't think.
Right. You were asked about the roadside shooting, and your intent was to end your life that day, was it not?
It was, no question.
And you were shot but not killed. and then you made up a lie to law enforcement about what happened, right?
That's correct.
Were you trying to protect Curtis Eddie Smith by doing that?
Was I trying to protect Curtis Eddie Smith?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I don't know exactly. It all had to come together so quick. I don't know that I was trying to protect Curtis Eddie Smith.
Okay.
I may have been, but it was just, you know, I wasn't supposed to be there. And then I was.
When you say I wasn't
run into
supposed to
that
be
before.
there, what do you mean by that?
I intended for him to, I mean, I intended to be gone. I intended for him to shoot me, and I intended to be gone. And the one thing, my main concern at that point was that I did not want Buster knowing that I had tried to do that.
Okay.
That was my motivation in telling that story.
I see. Did you eventually voluntarily convey to Agent Kelly and others that that was a fabrication?
I did. After, I don't know, a few days in detox, when I finally got over those initial, just where I could just function, I think I told you first, then I think I told Buster, then I think I told Randy and John, and y'all arranged either the next day or 2 days later to come, and we called Ryan Kelly.
Alec, you've lied to your family over many years, have you not?
I lied to my family about my addiction.
And you hid from them you were stealing client money, did you not?
Oh, I never, they didn't know anything about that.
And you've lied to your law partners about financial dealings and perhaps your addiction?
Yes.
And you've lied to law enforcement about not going down to the kennels after dinner, but eating dinner and taking a nap. Did you not?
I did.
Alec, did you murder Maggie?
I would never hurt Maggie.
Did you murder Paul?
I would never hurt Paul. If I was under the pressure that they're talking about here, I can promise you I would hurt myself before I would hurt one of them. Without a doubt.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Waters.
Please, court. You said that you were concerned when you talked to David Owen about the bag of pills in your pocket, correct?
I mean, no, sir, I'm not saying that I was concerned about that. I don't think I told you I was concerned about that. I'm just telling you that was a fact. I had a bag of pills in my pocket, and that was one of the things, that was one of the many things that came together that night.
And you're trying to tell this jury that as a reasonable husband and father in this situation, concern about a bag of pills in your pocket was more important to you than telling law enforcement and narrowing the time when you last saw your wife and son alive. That's what you want to convince this jury of?
No, sir, because, I mean, the bag of pills in my pocket was not what I was concerned about sitting in there. It was, as I said, it was one of the many things that was going on. But I wasn't sitting there worried about those pills in my pocket.
You were asked about requesting the phone and automobile data. And that was because as a prosecutor and a lawyer, you had been manufacturing an alibi to cover your tracks.
No, sir, that's absolutely wrong.
You admit you were wrong about a lot of things in what you told law enforcement about June 7th, correct?
I was wrong about things. Some things.
You were asked whether or not you voluntarily confessed to Agent Kelly, but you only did so after being confronted with undeniable information, correct?
No, sir, that's not correct at all. What I was told is that, and I believe this came from Randy, what I was told is that SLED had come up with some information that seemed like it was consistent with my story, and they needed me to verify some things, is what they told me. And, you know, I knew that resources had already been wasted. I didn't want them wasting any more resources, and I told them the truth, but there wasn't any, nobody had presented me with any evidence.
And you just testified that you told Jim Griffin first, correct?
I believe that I told Jim Griffin first.
But at that time, you didn't say anything about those kennels, did you?
To Jim Griffin at that time? No, sir, I didn't.
When you testified on direct yesterday, and you were asked about leaving the kennels with your new story, in light of the evidence that's been presented in this trial, your words were, "I got out of there," correct?
I believe that's what I said, yes, sir.
And you also said during your testimony on cross-examination that you hurt the ones you love the most, didn't you?
I did say that.
Thank you. Nothing further.
In saying that, Mr. Waters, I just want to explain that answer. I mean, he just asked me a question about what I said, and then I was going to explain why I said it.
All right.
As I told you earlier, you're implying to this jury and to me that was me talking about hurting Maggie and Paul. And that's not what that was. What that was is me saying, I know I hurt my brother, my partners, my clients, many of whom I told you I loved, all of whom I cared for. And that's what that was when I'm talking about how my misdeeds, how I hurt the people worst were the ones I loved the most.
I just asked you what you said, correct, Mr. Murdaugh?
You did ask me what I said, but in asking me that, you're putting an implication on there that I am explaining.
I just asked you what you said.
Okay, yes, sir.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Step down.
4:43. I'm not sure if we're going to have time for an expert witness. They have two expert witnesses, one of which they wanted to get through with before the weekend.
So I'll stand for a moment while counsel approach.
Yoga time. Let's see what's up. I would love to have Nicole. I think she said she would be available to Zoom in. I probably will get her on video as well, maybe afterwards. The Zoom's still open, so we'll keep that open for you. Matthew, I don't know what your schedule is as well. We'd love to have you as well. To have two different legal minds.
lied repeatedly to law enforcement.
Lied repeatedly to law enforcement. Samantha Terry, thank you. We have had 239 people click the like button today. If you do like true crime, that's where you indicate it, right there on that like button. Go ahead and click that on the screen, and YouTube will recognize that, and then we'll only give you those videos that match what you like in the future. Right? Is that how it works? You'll be there. Okay. Is it going to be video or just audio? We can do either way. I'm not sure what Matthew's schedule is. He might not be available for that. It is yoga time. Everyone stretch. Deep breaths. I'm not sure what, let's see what the court's doing here. Take a quick peek. Yeah, let's see if we can listen to. Oh, there's no audio on there right now. Looks like they're.
Be seated, please.
Be seated, please. Okay, we're coming back. That was loud. I fixed it.
Well, we've come to the end of this week, and we will adjourn now and resume at 9:30
on
Monday morning. Have a great weekend. Do not discuss the case or allow yourself to be exposed to any information concerning the case. And we'll see you Monday morning. Have a great weekend. Jury is excused.
Only the jury. Judge does not like any noise in the courtroom during this part. Brown chicken, brown cow. Is that what you're saying, Ivan? Yeah, the Waters had his mic drop spoiled. Who was it that said that?
Be seated, please.
Okay, we've got some business to conduct here. Let's see what's going to go on.
Regarding scheduling, first up Monday morning, Mr. Harpootlian.
Your Honor, we anticipate having 4 witnesses on Monday. They would probably average an hour apiece. So I would suspect by lunchtime we would be, no?
Early afternoon.
Early afternoon, I'm told by Mr. Griffin.
We'll be in verdict
resting,
watch, possibly by Tuesday.
And of course, Mr. Waters indicated he'll have 1 or 2 reply witnesses.
A couple right now, Your Honor. Obviously, we need to assess that when they complete their case, but it would not be lengthy.
So maybe Wednesday, verdict watch.
The question, what day next week do we do argument and charge?
Well, it's all unpredictable.
Judge hates
as we can see
rule
from
anything
today,
in advance.
It's pretty unpredictable.
I'm guessing. I'd hope Tuesday. I don't think that's going to be, if they have any reply witnesses. Wednesday would be more of a target. I'm just saying a target date that we can begin thinking about in terms of argument and charge. To that end, are you going to set a time limit on arguments, or are you going to just let us do whatever we want?
I do not set time limits on argument.
With that in mind, Mr. Griffin and I mean, they get 2 arguments. We perhaps would like to split our final argument, which we think, with 4 weeks of testimony in there, it's going to be difficult for one person to digest all of that. There's no problem with that, is there?
All right. I would object to that. I think Your Honor's rules and general practices consistent with one counsel handling argument.
Your Honor, I've seen it done both ways, and with 4 weeks of testimony, I think it's very difficult for one person, and we only get 1 argument.
I've never done it, and I'm not inclined to do it. I'll look it over and consider it, but I'm not inclined to allow the defense to split closing arguments.
We would agree to a 2-hour limit. Does that maybe incentivize?
He's like, I don't. It's like I don't put limits in, and I'm not going to let you split.
We'll look at it. I'm not inclined to do it. It's unprecedented, as far as I know, in the state of South Carolina, except perhaps where you've been able to convince someone to the contrary.
I've actually objected to it when I was on his side of the courtroom.
Well, we have some days to think about that. Regarding closing arguments, I think we've emailed you all a few days ago concerning any requested charge or charges that you might have.
Yes, sir. We'll get those to you this weekend, if that's acceptable.
We'll try to do that, Your Honor, but we're preparing witnesses. How about Monday night?
That's fine.
Okay.
Anything else before we adjourn?
So Verdict Watch
From state, Your Honor.
sounds like it's not going to be any time sooner than the Wednesday now.
4:49. We are adjourning for the weekend.
Still a full courtroom. You look at that. All rise. There we go. Let's see. Let's follow this going right here. No sound. Okay, the jury is ready to deliberate. They're excited. Until Monday. Yes, we're going to have a little bit of a call-in show a little bit. I'm not sure. I didn't see Matthew's schedule. I'm not sure if he's still even able to be with us or not. But we'll get Nicole back just a little bit online to talk with us. We need some lip readers. Stat. Looks like they're pretty they're okay with how he did. He's shaking hands. He's like, yep, he's proud of him. Yep, good job. Thank you. Did a good job on the cross, or good job on the direct questioning of the defendant. Alex, I will say, did a good job on cross in answering the cross. The bailiff's keeping his eyes out very carefully for whatever Alex has in his pockets. He tends to take those pens and things like that. There we go. Alex, good to go. Not carrying his own papers today. He's got a caddy carrying his books. And I think that's it. I think we just lost the feed. Boom, we did. Okay, there we go. That's exciting. Happy Friday. Are you guys glad you did not skip watching today? I thought it was great. Creighton does not look too happy. Proved they need to go back to law school. Let's see. I would never hurt Maggie or Paul, but I hurt everyone I loved. So if you didn't love them, or I need to turn the sound off so it doesn't get bars and tone. So you didn't love them, or bad logic mapping there. Yeah, he says I would never hurt them, but he lied to them. Does lying to someone hurt them? Does he not draw that connection? I would think lying to someone you loved does hurt them. But he said I would never hurt them at all. I could never. He did not qualify his I need to reopen my Zoom. Hang on. Why did that close? New meeting. There we go. Zoom's open again. I think it's been open all day. Hold tight. We're going to have Nicole pop in here as soon as she's available, so give me just a second. Close the dock. Turn on screen share. Just in case. Turn on my camera, make sure the audio's good. Okay, we're all set up. Whenever you're ready. It's the weekend, and the weekend can't really be here until we have something amazing happen first, and that's going to be the podcast, which is going to happen tonight at 9 p.m. Weather Watch and Thomas and I, as we go by on the Thomas and Scott, will be talking all sorts of fun topics. There will be some food trials going on, specifically with Oreos and spicy maple bourbon pickles. You'll definitely want to stick around for that in case I discover your next favorite treat. Answer some questions here. Recover Addict, does that include responses to how do I look in this outfit? Melissa, that's a loaded question there. That's one of those, does this outfit make me look fat type thing? You're gonna have to answer questions like that on your own. I cannot give you any guidance. I don't know a lawyer who would instruct you on how to answer that way without being a little bit deceitful in that one. Lying does hurt people and families. I agree. What did Ivan say? Ivan, I hear people agreeing with you, so I'm looking for your comment. Cover addicts and Matthew. We might get Matthew if he's available. I'm not sure what his schedule is. He's a busy man. Yeah, I'm free. Give me a minute. I'll get my video set up. Okay, awesome. I think we'll figure out how to do this. I think that'll work. Let me get super source ready. Preset 2 boxes. Right there. Okay. One is 3, 2 is 1, and 3 is 2. Okay, got it. Did you get the rough draft emoji I sent? Yes, Tag, I saw those. No color on them yet, but they look good. I'm not sure how many more emojis I can put in. I do have limits, and YouTube sets limits based on the number of members I have. So they might have given me another member because you guys have been incredibly generous in getting all the gray people in green. So they might have given me another space for emoji, and if so, I might be able to do another one. Otherwise, we can cycle out some old ones if we need. What type of sandwich do you make with these pickles? Any type. Tuna fish sandwiches work. Chicken salad sandwiches work. Any type of cold cut meat sandwich, sub sandwich I would recommend with spicy maple bourbon. It works really well. He admitted to lying and hurting people he loved and that trusted him. Yes, he did. Remember tonight at 9 p.m. join for the podcast with me and Thomas. Thank you, Samantha, for that reminder. That's going to be fun. Zoom. Come on back to my room. Yeah, we're going to have Zoom here in just a minute. Actually, the audio is set up. So I think as soon as somebody pops in, we'll have them here. So we'll get a little post. Let's see who got here first. I'm not sure who it is. We'll wait. We'll have a little post-trial chat as we get ready for the weekend. I can hear somebody's there, but I can't see a picture quite yet. Bite Me says I'm going to miss most of next week. Bite Me, you'll have to be on replay crew. I don't know when you're going to sleep, but you have to stay up nights watching the replays. Alex already got into his Uber and got out of there. He did. It was really quick. He's got things for the weekend. He's got plans, big plans. How long is the show on? It's going to be about an hour tonight, Hawkeye. I think I know that on Discord there's some stuff that's starting about 10 for people who are watching like a Netflix documentary. So that's going to be fun. We'll probably be done right about then, give or take a little bit. Let's see. Fun fact: my indictment was over 500 pages. Ivan, 500 pages. That's amazing. How many of them were lies, though, Ivan? How many of those pages were lies? From the grand jury, or to the grand jury. Lady Ready says, serious question: is it available to read? You won't post it on Discord, says Thomas. Ivan, thank you so much for being here, for being so upfront and sharing your personal situation and your experience in life. Clearly, you've had experience where a lot of us have not, and it's I value that a ton. I know that we disagree on several things, but have the utmost respect for you and cheering you on all the way. I'm your number one fan, Ivan, both in business and in life. Just as a parent, as a pet owner, as a small business owner, I wish you nothing but the best, Ivan. And I appreciate the respect you show in chat, and without you, it would not be the same. Seriously, thank you so much. Although his family may have been prominent, says Melissa, in the area, often influence and wealth brings envy from others. It sounded like Waters was a little envious. Did you hear that? You've been really successful. You made millions of dollars. And it sounds like Waters has not made millions of dollars. The jury's excited. I was wondering if they still had a pulse after the last 2 days. They're excited because it's the weekend. It's the weekend. They get some time off finally. Thanks, I love this room. No lie. Awesome, Ivan. Love you being here. I think I'll watch tonight in review, says Richard. I'll start from the end and get to the end of Scott eating the stuff and see his reaction post-eating. Sorry for those who love them. No personal affront meant. No, it's fine. You don't have to like what I like. What was the result of your poll? I apologize. I did... The poll was did Waters change your opinion about Alex or out Alex? A-O-U-T, Alex. I left the B out. No was 38%, and that he was still guilty. Yes, that it was guilty was 32%. So no and yes combined on guilty was 70%. And then no not guilty was 20%, and yes not guilty was 8%. Those numbers, from what you guys have sent me from some of the other channels that are doing similar polls about guilt and innocence, they seem to be within about 10 or 15 points, give or take, with all the other things. So we're not like far out of whack from what a lot of the other people are thinking. Some of the other law tube channels have dramatically different results, which is interesting to see. Horse Sheet and Banana says, recovery addict. Hey, Nicole, thank you. I see you just popped up. You scared me to death. You scared me to death. Just one second. We're going to bring you up on screen here.
Sorry.
There we go. We have Nicole on screen. Let me get rid of the chat so we can. That got rid of me. That got rid of the chat. There we go. Okay, Nicole, thank you first of all for dialing in on short notice, and now for connecting right now. And Matthew might join us at some point, which would be perfectly okay as well. Pick up where you left off. What would you like to share?
Is my frame rate okay? Can see me on one half and the other one is sort of delayed,
I've sort of done like a split screen. You're a little off center, but that's my fault, not yours. I sort of framed it based on the center of the picture, so I'm not sure if you can scoot to the right. Now it's perfect. So, it looks good.
There you go. Got the jury behind me.
Yeah. All right.
Forgive me. I'm in my civvies today. I'm not working, so I'm at home watching the trial. So yeah, where were we? We were talking about, I don't know. I was hoping for more out of the redirect than what he did. I feel like he wasn't prepared for that, and he probably would have been better if he had gone home for the night and thought about the testimony. I thought Alec handled himself very well throughout the whole thing. He never was rattled. But I think that the defense missed an opportunity to really explore, some issues that they could have used for reasonable doubt. So if you have corruption within SLED, to the point where he made a comment that they had manufactured evidence and sort of railroaded somebody, that would have been something as a defense attorney, I would have jumped all over.
There have been a lot of moments,
and I would have,
where they seem to have missed things. Yeah. Whether it's an objection, whether it's like
it's almost,
all the rest of us are like, "What was that?" And they act like it was, they didn't hear it.
Right. It's almost like they're maybe not paying as close attention as they should be. I mean, look, everybody has their own trial strategy, and it's always easy to armchair quarterback when you're not in the hot seat. I will tell you that. And having been on, I don't know how many people other than maybe Ivan, have been on the witness stand, but it is a very uncomfortable place to be. And I personally have been on the witness stand a couple times. And I will tell you, as someone who is more comfortable in court than I am anywhere else, even in my own home, I'm more comfortable in court. That spot is the most uncomfortable spot. It's just, for whatever reason, it is just really uncomfortable. You're facing everybody and, all eyes are on you. It's horrible. But, I think Alec held his own, and, maybe they weren't paying as close attention as they should have been. Hey.
Now I have to shuffle here. Just 1 second. Just 1 second here. We'll get everybody in here.
How's it going, Nicole?
Let me ask Nicole a quick question before Matthew jumps in. Switch to this.
Come on, let's go.
There we go. I'm going to be down here in the corner, so you guys, with opinions are up there. Let me ask Nicole this question from Wendy. Says, please ask Nicole how long she thinks the defense has been prepping for AM to take the stand.
I don't think they did. I don't think they wanted him to take the stand for anything. And I think that Poot actually alluded to that, and it's usually a bad idea. But I'm glad he did, because a lot of times you'll hear jurors say, oh, I wish they would have taken the stand, because then, I would have known more, or I would have been able to gauge their reaction. So I don't think they prepared for him to take the stand, and I don't think they were prepared for redirect this afternoon, because they could have done a lot better than they did.
Well, Matthew, welcome as well. What was your take now that we've sort of wrapped for the weekend? We're almost done, right? They have like 2 more witnesses, expert witnesses, and then maybe some rebuttal. We're in the last few hours or days, 24 hours, 48 hours, something like that of the trial. What's your take now? Did I lose Matthew?
Matthew.
Oh, sorry. I froze up for a minute there, and I didn't hear any prompt.
Okay. I was asking what your favorite restaurant was. No, just kidding. What's your take on this? As the state's basically finished, it was their big finish, right? Crossing the defendant. That's got to be the highlight of the trial as far as what you're presenting. Okay, that's your moment, the gotcha moment. We've seen that now. What's your take?
I don't know what else the defense would have that they would want to put on here. That should have been their cherry on top. That should have been the dessert that everyone was looking forward to throughout the entire trial. And now they've put that on. So what else is there to offer at this point? We're all just going to be watching the same with bated breath, because there's not anything else that we're expecting.
Okay. We saw on the, this is going to go for either of you. We saw on the redirect, Jim got up there, and it seemed that it was interesting. The thing he went to really was the cell phone, the Maggie's phone and Alex's phone, and they weren't there at the same time. Is that their key get out of jail free card? I wasn't together. They moved separately. Did that stick? Is that going to be all the jury needs to remember?
I think what the point of that was personally was that they were trying to show that he lied about this specific period of time, and that the specific period of time was irrelevant to the time of the murders, because like I mentioned yesterday, the phones were still active and being manipulated by somebody after he was off property. And if that is true, he cannot be the murderer.
Okay. And Matthew, is your take, are you leaning more on guilty on this one?
I am. I'm leaning more towards the guilt of it, because I just don't think that they did themselves any favors by putting Alex up there. I think that they were stronger before they put him on the stand, honestly.
I think that the defense, just real quickly, I think the defense, if they were going to put anything else on, I disagree with experts. I don't know, unless they're going to challenge the medical expert for time of death, which would be really good to do. If they can put time of death after 9 o'clock, then, that definitely helps, because everybody's focused on this timeline of before 9 o'clock. And like I said, that has not been proved. It's been said over and over again, but just because the prosecutor is repeating it doesn't mean that they died before 9 o'clock. So if they put anybody back up, I would like them to put Owens back up and have Owens admit to lying to the grand jury. Mm-hmm. I would ask him how many times he's done it. Has he done it in other cases? And did the prosecution know? Did the team know going in that he had lied? Because again, that is a huge deal. That's not a small, I forgot what time I was somewhere. That's, I committed perjury on purpose to get an indictment of somebody. Now, and I'm saying this, I'm not a defense attorney. I'm not a criminal defense attorney. I would never be a criminal defense attorney, married to a sheriff. So I am very much pro prosecution, but I'm also, I do not like, you know, prosecutors or cops that lie in order to get a conviction. I have a big problem with that.
Matthew, you feel the same? Is that a concern for you in this case about the testimony we heard from Owens, where he gave some information to the grand jury that wasn't consistent necessarily with what they found on the scene?
Well, I don't know that he had the full picture at the time that he gave that testimony. That's one thing that I would be concerned about. And also, the testimony that he gave there at the grand jury is not the testimony that's being presented now. And so now that we've got a full picture, we've got all of the witnesses on the stand, we've got all of the evidence in front of the jury. I think that is what the jury should be focused on, and not so much of what was said to the grand jury. I mean, it would go to Owens's character. It goes to his credibility, sure. But as far as what those facts were at that time, I don't know how strong or necessary that was.
Okay, so I'd like to do this.
Facts.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Go ahead.
I'll let you wrap up, and then.
I was going to say the facts. Yeah, sure. The facts that he lied about was that the shotgun was loaded with particular type of shells or shotgun casings. And that was presented to this jury. There was testimony that the shotgun was loaded with two different types of shells, birdshot, and I forgot what the other one was, buckshot. But that wasn't true. And if he's willing to lie about what's in the weapon, and another officer is willing to lie about, you know, a gun being under a coat or a tarp or whatever, or whatever it was, you know, those are going to the heart of the case. He's indicted based on the fact that these murders occurred with, you know, guns that were on the property. The prosecution has done some things that are really shady, like bringing guns in that aren't part of the crime scene. What's the point of that? You know,
Agreed.
You keep holding these weapons up, but they have nothing to do with the case.
I think they brought a lot of things in that had nothing to do with the case. You know, there was so much irrelevant information that really clouded the picture for all of us and arguably the jury as well. I'd like to do this. I know both of you. You're probably about as opposite as you can get on your conclusion of innocent guilt right now. If you could wear the other hat for a little bit. So Nicole, you're going to be the prosecutor for a second, and Matthew, you be defense. What was the one thing you could have done better today if you're on the other side?
You want to go first, Matthew? You want me to?
No, I'll let you go first. Prosecution goes first.
Oh, thanks. State goes first. If I was the state in this case, I would not have brought in all of the weak evidence that they are using, like, for example, the guns. Because if the defense is smart, they're going to go in and point all that out. I would focus on his timeline, and I would try and tighten down time of death. And I think that's where they're lacking. That's missing. Everybody is saying, you know, he's guilty based on X, Y, this lie, and because he was at the kennels. But I would tie up neatly the timeline from the time of the kennel video until the time he left, and try and get to prove that there's no other explanation but for him committing the murders before he left. And that's what's missing.
All right, Matthew, how about you? Defense.
If it were me, I would not have let him take the stand. I would have tackled him at the door. He would not have gotten on that stand because he did himself no favors at all. Really, the only thing that he really did by taking the stand was to confirm that he did in fact lie to the police. And he gave him some really terrible reasons for why he was lying. All of his reasons for lying, I thought the state did a good job. Finally did it 2 days later. They finally get to it to point out that your reasons you gave us for lying to the police, those weren't there whenever you lied to the very first responding officer. They finally got to it, but I think they could have made that point a lot better, a lot stronger. State could have been a lot better in their presentation. But regardless, his testimony just gave him that many more opportunities to say, I'm a liar. I wish we had a count. We could just tick how many times that he admitted that he lied or that he stole, because those all just added up against him.
Now, sometimes sometimes that works.
Agree with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you get a witness up there.
Remember, he only has to connect with one.
Yeah.
He only needs one juror to connect with him to feel like he's telling the truth in order to get a mistrial. Yeah. So, and the more he's up there and the more he cries, the more likely it is that he'll connect with somebody. I mean, look at Jodi Arias. She almost chopped Travis Alexander's head off and admitted it and almost had a hung jury. So, and that was because the jurors said that she was on the stand for so long, they started to feel bad for her and connect with her.
Yeah. I was going to say, I talked over you. I apologize, Nicole, as well as Borna Hawkeye, who called me out on it, saying, let her speak. That was my fault. I was going to say, we've seen that before. We've seen witnesses that take the stand and say, yeah, I've got this awful record. I've done all these awful things, but they come across as very believable, as just, I have nothing to hide type thing. I'm telling the truth now. And I think that's clearly what Alex went for, in a lot of consistency in how he answered. And you're right. He only needs one. Right? One person needs to say, yep, he was telling the truth.
Right. I think the defense needs to do a very clear job of bringing in reasonable doubt. The unfortunate thing is, and I just cannot understand why these jurors can't take notes, but they are not going to remember 95% of the testimony, including his lies. They're not going to remember the names of the people he ripped off. They're going to remember he lied about money, and they're going to remember that the prosecution really harped on the money more than anything else. So, for a murder trial, there was more evidence presented about the financial crimes than there was about the murder, at least tying it to that defendant. I really wish they would have gotten into the corruption in that one case. I would have loved to know what evidence they manufactured. That would have been very, very poignant, I think, in this case.
Yeah. I think that it would have been sufficient if they would have just pointed out, and I've said this in chat a couple times, if they would have just focused on the fact that morning he learned about there were some charges coming out against him, without getting into all the background facts that lead up to it and getting him to admit to the underlying crimes. If just his knowledge, because that's the only reason that they wanted it, was to show motive. And so if they had just focused on that, it would have stayed clean, and we wouldn't have wasted so much time in the trial. And I think it would have been a little clearer to the jury that we just want to show you his frame of mind at the time that this all went down, without trying to just sling mud. Because just like Nicole said, the more that they're doing this mudslinging and attacking him, it just gives them more room to feel sympathy for him. And I think that has a chance to backfire on the state here. And my honest thought is, if this comes out as a guilty verdict, it's going to be in spite of the state's cross today.
Okay. If it does end up with a guilty verdict, I personally believe there's a very high likelihood of an appeal. For either of you, was there something the judge did during this trial that for you stood out as like, oh, great, that just opens the door for appeal, or he shouldn't have made that decision, or that was, that's crossing the line. Was there a point for either of you as you watched Judge Newman sort of navigate this trial?
Well, I have to be careful with what I say, because I don't,
I'll let Nicole take
cannot
first.
disparage the bench. I think that the judge is not, he definitely doesn't play poker. He has not at all hidden his disdain for the defense. There have been times when he's allowed in, like the Fifth Amendment, you know, that he wouldn't comment to the jury that Murdaugh had a right to remain silent, and making it appear as though his decision not to talk about, you know, not being truthful about where he was at the kennels and so forth until he's on the stand. He has a right to do that. He has a constitutional right to do that. And I think the judge made a mistake by not either prefacing, you know, some sort of instruction to the jury that you cannot infer that by him not saying anything during that time period means that, you know, anything other than he was exercising his right. I think that was a huge one. I think that's reversible on appeal, to be honest with you.
All right. Anything from your...
I mean, that's really what the Fifth Amendment is for.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. Anything from your side, Matthew, that you saw?
I think that not limiting the scope for the Fifth Amendment privilege while testifying, I think that allowing the state to go into essentially confessions of the underlying financial crimes, I think that was an overstep. I would have loved to have seen the judge say, listen, he's here testifying today, waiving his Fifth Amendment privilege for this hearing, for this crime that's charged. And so I'm going to limit it to basically confessions as to this crime, if any, or the facts leading up to this crime that might incriminate him. But whenever the judge made that ruling, that essentially tied the hands of the defense team, because we have something that we call inoculation. If you know you have bad facts, you want to be the first one that approaches those. You want to be the first one to put your spin on it, which then tied the hands of the defense team to have to address that on direct. That's why you essentially heard him confess to all those financial crimes right off the bat, because otherwise it would have looked a lot worse for the state to do that first.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the judge made a huge mistake in letting that happen. I mean, there is a difference between motive, which the state does not need to prove, and getting to a part where all of this financial stuff just becomes so prejudicial that you have a jury convicting him based on that. And without an I mean, I was stunned there wasn't an admonishment. I mean, I guarantee you if he's convicted, we will see this case either in the appellate with an appellate decision that's published or a Supreme Court decision that's published.
This might be Murdaugh might be a name that we bring up in reference in other trials. That's interesting. Thal was asking. We've had a couple moments throughout this trial where all of us, you know, a lot of us are just amateur watchers and say like that's weird, that's different. He brought one up saying, "Have you ever seen a time where the defense tried to interrupt the prosecutor's cross with another witness?" That was wild. So they sort of wanted an interruption, and say, "Hey, we've got these two experts we'd like to bring in right now." Does that happen?
For me,
I've never seen that.
I mean. For me, it happened. Stuff like that happens all the time. I mean, my area of law is trials. I am in trial. That's all I do. So if I'm not in trial, I may be doing some appellate work, but all I do is trials. And quite frequently, things like that, scheduling conflicts would come up. Not so much in a criminal case, but it does happen where you have witnesses who are otherwise unavailable or expense, and you need to squeeze somebody in. It's not uncommon. It does happen quite a bit. I understand why the judge denied it, because they didn't want to give him time to, you know, think about what he was going to testify to. But it does happen.
I've seen the out of order
you know,
witnesses.
I've had Skype witnesses before too.
I've seen the out of order. I had never seen the in the middle of a cross of a specific witness. I can see like between two witnesses or something like that. But that was a surprise to me. Lots of people are saying thank you. We've got people in chat on both sides. Some are saying Matthew all the way. Some are saying I'm Team Nicole. So I appreciate you, both of you coming in here. MCAT puts it best. She says we appreciate both of your opinions so much. Thank you so much for giving us your insight. Love having you here, both in chat and in person, of course. You guys are the professionals in the courtroom.
Let me make it clear.
Go ahead.
I am not Team Murdaugh. I am just, I became an attorney because I believe in our system. And the only way you can believe in our criminal justice system is innocent until proven guilty. I firmly believe in that. And I think a lot of times people lose sight of that. And if you are on the receiving end of that, you're going to want innocent until proven guilty. And so I really feel like it's not the defense's job to prove he's innocent. It's the state's job to prove he's guilty. And I don't care if it's Alex Murdaugh or anybody else. And it doesn't matter what the crime is. That's our Constitution. That's why I said watch that movie. Watch that movie.
I think Matthew's going to call you out on something that he calls me out on. Matthew, what's your... What? Go ahead.
I'm going to agree with Nicole with the exception of one thing. It is innocent unless proven guilty. Because whenever you say until, that's for the reason the show Cops gets it wrong, because they say all suspects are innocent until proven guilty. Whenever you say until, that presumes that at some point they will be proven guilty. Like it's daytime until it's nighttime, because at some point it will be nighttime.
Right.
And so that's my crusade in life, is to get everyone to stop saying until and to get them to start saying unless.
But I think you both very agree strongly that the system we have there's a presumption of innocence for the accused, and that is crucial. That's how we all have to approach this. Nicole, Matthew, thank you so much both for coming on today. At the same time, this is like Christmas for me. I appreciate both of you. Obviously, we've got the podcast tonight. It's not going to be crime related. You're welcome to watch anytime you want. We'll be back talking about the trial tomorrow. I'm not sure, or Monday. Sorry. I'm not sure what your schedules will be, but obviously we'd love to have you in chat, and whenever you can join us live, the door is open. The invitation's there. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Any parting words?
And at some point, I'm going to talk to you about like metal detecting, because I love that.
We should do that sometime when there's a lull in the trials. We'll talk about metal detecting. Or I'll do a how-to about electronics or something. Just something that we can all agree on and just have fun with. Nicole, Matthew, thank you very much. Appreciate both of you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
Matthew,
see you in chat.
It was so nice meeting you.
Good to meet you as well, Nicole. All right, see y'all in chat.
See ya. They are awesome. So glad they found me, or I found them. I don't know how it happened, but the channel is better because of Goodman Law and Matthew Harris Law. So thank you both to that. It would not be the same without you. I appreciate it. There were a couple more questions. I know there was a lot of questions I did not get to. Mostly that's because I'm an awful host. I'm sorry. I apologize. But let's see. No. Born a Hawkeye. You can't offend me. You can't offend me. Anytime you need to get my attention, just shout it out. That's great. Zoom does present some challenges sometimes where it's a little bit delayed, and I start talking at the same time someone else starts talking, and then because of the delay, we don't hear it for a little bit. And so I was stomping right on top of her when I should have let her speak. But I'll do better next time, I promise. Thanks for bearing with me. Let's see. Someone was pointing out that Lil Miss, I think you were saying, I don't think the jury will take into account that Owens lied to the grand jury. I believe you're right. That's not the jury's place to do that. I think that issue should have been addressed before then, maybe with the judge. I don't know. But it is a concern. We want a legal system that functions properly, and not, the very foundation of a trial should be secure. It should be solid. The reason somebody's being brought up for trial shouldn't be on, lies, and then we'll prove it later type thing. I don't like even the hint of that occurring. So I'm with Nicole on that part for sure. Let's see. He had to take the stand, says Stoos. They couldn't overcome video evidence, and he had to testify that he did not or could not kill my wife and son. I don't know if he had to take the stand. I Matthew, you had a very good point where basically everything he said, the first long time of taking the stand, I mean, other than saying he didn't kill his wife and son, was just admitting to all the things he'd done wrong. All the times he'd lied, all the times he cheated, he'd stolen, he'd done somebody wrong. And I think it actually, in doing all that, that's when we got those phrases that would slip in there that although they were not admissions of guilt, they formed connections as soon as you heard them, like, I did them wrong, you know, I hurt the people that I love the most, type thing. These little phrases that come in is like, that sounds bad. We're sitting here looking at you to see, are you guilty of this crime? And where you're saying things that are connecting us to that and saying, is that what he's talking about? When I don't think he was. I think he was very clear, and he made clear afterwards that wasn't his intention to try to talk about the murders that way. Mrs. R.A. just walked into the room. Are you going to zoom in too, Mrs. R.A.? You missed it. Did you see Nicole and we had Matthew? Oh, okay, she said I watched. Welcome, by the way. I'm glad you follow my channel, finally.
I know. I'm a fan now.
I appreciate you. Did you have anything you wanted to add to it?
Yeah, not to that. But
not to that? Okay, I'm going to swing the mic over there. You don't want to sit here in the chair?
No, I'm not.
She doesn't want to sit there. Okay, hang on 1 second.
Hey guys, I wanted to wait until all the professionals left and nobody could call me on my unprofessionalness here. But I have not, okay, open confession. I did not actually watch any of this today. I was on a field trip with my kids, so I didn't watch any of this stuff today. But when I got home, I was doing some thinking on specifically what Nicole said yesterday and how she was approaching this and the conclusions that she had come to and how I was approaching it and how I had such different conclusions. And I was thinking, what is going on here? How is this possible? She's obviously super smart and I think I'm smart, and how can we possibly come to the different conclusions? And so I did a little bit of research, and here is what I found. That I looked up the word confusion because I feel like a lot of what is happening here is, instead of trying to have reasonable doubt, they're trying to have unreasonable levels of confusion. Not only about the facts, they're trying to put in lots of stuff that is confusing, whether or not the facts are true or not. But they're also trying to add, they're also trying to add a lot of confusion when it comes to, you know, is this true? Is it not true? Did he lie here? Did he not lie there? There's just a lot of confusion. And so I'm wondering, do we have reasonable doubt? Or do we just have high levels of confusion? And so I was kind of doing some word studies and trying to figure out where I lay on that. And I didn't really learn anything new on that. But then what I really discovered, sorry, this is like a super long story. The point is, what I really discovered is that what we're missing here is the truth. And we do not know if he's telling the truth here or if he was lying in this particular thing. And because we do not know what is true, we're left to say, I must come up with my own reasonable conclusion. So I looked up the word reasonable. Here's the point. Thanks for sticking with me. When it says reasonable, it means with the ability to reason. And a lot of times I think the word reasonable means fair or equitable or, what a lot of people would come up with, if we polled people, it's what the majority would come to. That is not what reasonable means. What reasonable means is having the ability to reason. And so as we look at this and we say, I don't know what's true and what's not true, we must use our ability to reason our way to a conclusion. And this is why somebody can be convicted on just circumstantial evidence, because it is our job as, well, if we were on the jury, it would be our job to use our ability to reason to make a judgment call and say he lied or he didn't lie, and therefore I will make a jump, because you have to, because nobody videoed the actual murder, and make that jump in logic and come up with your own conclusion. That's what it means to be reasonable.
I think that was the equivalent of a mic drop when you swung the boom back around this direction. So Mrs. R.A. thinks guilty or not guilty. I think she's firmly on the guilty side. I believe she's firmly, am I correct on that?
I do feel he's guilty.
She feels he's guilty. That's where she's at. Mrs. R.A. is very smart compared to, what are you saying, Rowdy? What are you saying? You just left it hanging there. Compared to what? Compared to me? She is. I married up, Rowdy. 100% admit that. Mrs. R.A. is amazing. She is so well read. Let me just out her a little bit. She is always reading like 5 books at once, and like every room in the house, she has another book, and these are not like fluff novels. She's like, and she's reading Crime and Punishment the same time she's reading, what's one of the other ones? Like something about, something from history and something. She's poring over these things, and she's teaching classes and going to book clubs and everything. She loves to study and read, and she is much smarter than I am. So I just listen and I nod, and then later she can teach me what she was saying and I can understand. No, she is super smart. Appreciate her definitely coming on. I like her definition of reason, the ability to reason as well. That was the 1820 dictionary that had that. Who went by recovery addict first, you or Mrs. R.A.? Always on go. That was me. Mrs. R.A. actually has her own channel on YouTube that she shares videos that have to do with homeschool, and she calls it Homeschool Ground Zero. She's does an amazing job over there. She's an amazing mom and amazing teacher. She does fantastic with our kids and just understanding what they need and how to teach them and reach them, and it's awesome. So if you have any interest in homeschool or know somebody that is, I would recommend her channel. I'm a little biased, of course, but I think it's really good. She has a beautiful soul. She's amazing. We love her. Thank you, Myra. You're beautiful as well. Everyone, all of you, hugs all around. The defense doesn't have to prove innocence. The state has to prove guilt. Yes, Nicole, 100%. I was surprised the defense did not really present the alibi after we heard that he was going to do that. I thought there would be more of a formal presentation of his alibi. Mrs. R.A. means research addict, says Thal. I think she would accept that. Okay, I think here's what we have. It is. Are you leaving? Okay, thank you so much. I love you. You're welcome. Here's what we have. We have the weekend, and I have to go break rocks. I've got to pound sand, right, or whatever it is you do with a sledgehammer to break up concrete. So I'm going to be going and getting some blisters and working tomorrow. But tonight we have a podcast. Weather Watch and Thomas and I are going to be doing our podcast tonight. It's going to be round 2. Begin. It should be a lot of fun. So if you want to join us tonight, it will be a little bit more laid back than obviously watching trial. Everyone's saying Goodman Law Firm. Which movie did you mention? Which movie did you mention? She told me, and I did not write it down. I'm trying to think. Go pound sand. Yes. No, really, go pound sand. Myra says, tell Mrs. R.A. she's met her match in me at someone who speaks at 2 times speed. Myra, Mrs. R.A. can consume video, 2 videos at a time, and she watches them on high speed while she's reading. She has the ability to just soak data in from all different fronts. Angelina says, it's so nice that you speak well of your wife, because many men have issues of having a smart wife. I know when I'm outmatched, and I will admit it 100%. And unlike Alex, I've said this from the beginning. She is so smart. I did marry her. I'm so glad she agreed to marry me. I definitely won on that one. I subscribed, says High Speed Drifter. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Let's see. I thought it was called, yes, Population Zero, says Lady Writer. And Goodman's came in as well. Population Zero on Tubi. I'm going to type it in my little notes here so I can check that out myself. Okay. Got it. Thank you very much. That was fantastic with the 2 attorneys. Thanks again. Hope to be with you tonight and see how the Oreo pickle thing goes. I'm hoping it's good, Carol, because if it's awful, obviously uneating anything on camera is not pretty. And that's a quick way to really lose viewers. So I'm hoping it's not terrible. Your courtroom is much prettier than their courtroom. This is actually a courtroom from Wisconsin, I believe. I stole this from Wisconsin. Fair and square. I mean, they gave it to me. But let's see. Also, the movie is Zone of Death, Yellowstone. I'm going to have to look that up as well. Let's see. I'll do puzzles while listening to documentaries or college lectures on YouTube. I'm constantly studying. It's relaxing to me, says Tad. Tag, studying for me is difficult as far as college classes. I have to focus. I have to sit down. I have to actively try. It's not something I can do casually. But if there's something like a court case I'm interested in, I can tear through law. I can tear through, transcripts. I can just digest that. I love that. But class, there's just no incentive there to dig deeper for me. Thank you, Myra. Thank you, everybody. Let's see. If it's a Wisconsin courtroom, I've probably been in it, says Ivan. Do you recognize this view, Ivan? Thank you, Ivan. Love that you're here. Jay Elliott says, Goodman Law Firm, do you think murder can be proved by circumstantial evidence without the weapon, and how? We might probably need some more time for her to answer that one, Jay. That is a great question, and it probably is more than you can put in 200 characters in chat. Thank you, Myra. I think we're about ready to wrap up. We'll play some music here. Thank you, Teresa. Everybody, I apologize. We didn't get to do, looks like DB time out of courtroom. Yeah, I'm behind my box fort. We didn't get to do roll call today, so we'll probably pick that up on Monday, as we'll start a little bit early before trial starts and do roll call. Thanks for all of you for that. Amazing work by the mods today. I realize, I'll turn this down a tiny bit. I realize the closer we get towards the conclusion of a trial, the more people are interested in the trial, the more people that watch and just jump on, and YouTube happens to direct them our way, and they don't know what we're like here. They don't know that we're all really friends. We're almost family, that we come here and really enjoy it for the company as well as for the information that's presented. And so they sometimes talk a little bit before they listen. Thank you all for taking a step back and not rising to the bait sometimes. We are friends at the end of the day. We can agree and still be friends. So thank you all for that. That's what makes this area just of the internet just so much better than anything I've ever seen before. Thank you all for making it that way. And mods, the little work you did there today was fantastic. I appreciate that as well. You're amazing. I could not ask for better people to help police the chat that way. Obviously, Matthew Harris has a channel. If you want more legal content, more than what we got today, because I did sort of cut him short, please go check out his channel there. He would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. Just that anytime you show somebody who's been on the channel and contributes to us a little bit of love, that would be great. Tonight, when you guys go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again. Tonight, it's going to be at 9 p.m. for the podcast. Hope you can make it for that one. Otherwise, we'll see you Monday, 9 o'clock. See ya. Have a good night. I ran out of music before. This is called missing the post in radio. So I ran out of music before I ran out of things to say. All right. Hot mic moment. Thank you, guys. We'll see you. Oh, no. I'm not even ready. I don't even have my fadeaway picture. This is embarrassing. Nobody screenshot this. Tonight, the podcast is at 9 p.m. High Speed Drifter, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Now I'm going to have to start a channel. Goodman, as soon as you do, please let me know. We would love to start following you on that as well. That would be amazing. Okay, now I'm done. We'll finish it that way. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.